We're taking a look at the beauty and elegance of traditional homes, where classic design elements are brought to life in fresh, modern ways. First, we'll head to Pittsburgh, where interior designer Laura Solensky shares her beautifully designed home, blending classic design with a fresh, lively touch. Then, in San Antonio, Elaina Fagan Darden invites us into her vibrant home filled with traditional decor, bold patterns, and cheerful hues. Next, we'll visit Kristie McGowan's traditional home, where she expertly combines maximalism with Southern charm, incorporating playful colors, unique artwork, and luxurious textures. Finally, in St. Louis, lifestyle brand founder Hillary Muscatello shares her beautiful Craftsman-style home, where traditional elegance meets relaxed sophistication, inspired by yacht design and nature. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Laura. Welcome to my home in Pittsburgh. I'm so excited to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name's Laura Solensky. I live in Pittsburgh, PA with my husband and 2 dogs. I am an interior designer and I own Laura Solensky Design. So I live in Pittsburgh, PA with my husband Ryan and my 2 dogs, 2 black lab mixes. And I live in a colonial that was built mid-90s, I'd say 93. My personal style is a traditional, a very collected, layered, colorful traditional. So you'll see lots of patterns, lots of colors, mix of antiques and vintage, and just a really cozy, colorful vibe. So my husband and I lived in an apartment complex about a mile away. We weren't necessarily looking. I was always looking at homes. I've always, liked to see what's out there. And this popped up, and I loved the colonial layout. I loved the structure and the flow of each space. It was a complete cosmetic renovation. It was a foreclosure. It was just a mess. So we had to really touch every space. But I was excited to do that. I had a lot of ideas and I really wanted to make a home and make it feel like us. My favorite space is hard. That's like picking my favorite Taylor Swift song. But I would say either our living room, which I'm in now, or my husband's office, which I kind of delusionally call our study. Welcome to the entryway. This is the first room you see when you come in naturally. This was a project we did recently. I have always loved a really nostalgic, charming entry and have dreamed about making this little space feel a bit more grand. So recently we added this water house wall covering. It's just very nice, neutral, but with some pattern. I think it is a perfect kind of segue into the other spaces that have lots of color in my home. It also has a nice warmth and historical feel. We also switched out the stair system. It was a very builder grade colonial 2x4 wood, nothing charming about it. So I really envisioned a charming walnut and turned spindle entry with a nice wool runner. And we also, when I say we, I mean my husband, Ryan installed all of this paneling and woodworking here. The home was built in the mid-90s and was built very builder grade. So there was no woodworking, no crown, nothing to really make it charming and special. So that is something in each room I focused on. So we had some architectural detail and presence there. And I think it did a nice job of breaking up the wallpaper, but also making this space feel a little bit more grand. Other than that, it's really just a bit of decor and accessories. If you look down here, I have a Turkish 9-foot runner. So a nice little tip for you. Etsy has thousands and thousands of rugs and runners from Turkey and all over. And these vendors typically will do big sales. So for instance, this rug was a 70 or 75% off sale. I got the runner with the shipping was $111, which was really a steal for such a big statement piece. It's super durable and makes a nice little statement runner for the entry. You'll see throughout my home, I collect different vintage, antique, and even some new art. I really think art is so personal and it should speak to you. For instance, for me, I love landscapes and seascapes and ships and flowers and dogs and animals, so you'll see that throughout my home. This, and then there's two others over here that are all different seascapes and landscapes, and they're all vintage pieces from a local Pittsburgh store in the South Hills called Garden-Style Living. And I love the medium and the subject, and I think this lemon gilt frame is really beautiful. So I love stacking different pieces of art, especially, like I said, landscapes and seascapes. I think it makes a really beautiful little vignette. Why don't we go into the living room next? Follow me in. So when you first come into the living room, I have this little vignette with a demi-lune table right off the entry, which kind of functions as an entry table as well. And I have it styled with hydrangeas from my garden. You'll see them everywhere throughout the house. It's hydrangea season and they're one of my favorites. And this piece of art here is pretty special to me. So me and my husband a couple years ago were in Connecticut and we did a day of antiquing to his dismay. No, he's a good sport, but so we were antiquing and I really wanted a piece to commemorate the trip and just the memory. And that was when I really started to appreciate and collect art. And this piece was from a local antique shop and the owner was amazing and I loved everything about it. I loved the subject of the water and the sky and the trees. Something about fluffy clouds always gets me. And then it was in this gold frame you can kind of see right here. This thicker outside frame, it was pretty serendipitous because before that, I stopped at an estate sale a couple weeks before and got this larger frame for $1. And it fit perfectly inside and really made a statement with the double frame, and I think really made this piece even more special. So this is one that's really special to me and reminds me of that trip, and it's just something when I look at, it makes me happy. And then coming into the room, again, this space was pretty much a blank slate. There was no architecture, and it's a very long room. It's on the narrow side. It's not narrow, but it's not, super wide. So playing with the dimension and then the symmetry a bit, we have two door openings and a symmetrical fireplace. So I really wanted to create kind of illusions of symmetry and seating spaces and just different seating nooks throughout. So one of the first changes we did, and we did this in 2020, so it was a COVID project, it was a bit of a budget project, and I wanted to make this space one we loved. So the first thing is I bought this peel and stick wallpaper, super affordable, and I did it myself, which I will never do a wallpaper project again. However, this was fairly simple to do. The corners were very tricky, but overall it can be done. And I think it added such a nice texture and kind of warmth to the space because it is so long. And then I also had Ryan add crown molding and these 6 bookshelves you'll see. So I love the idea of library shelving. I didn't want them too deep because of the space of the room. And I collect books. You'll see I have lots of different books some of them are from Amazon, but then some of them are also from different antique stores and vintage stores. You can see I just love the colors and I love to then sit there and read through and find inspiration. So I wanted to display my books and some of my art and decor from travels, and I knew the shelves would be a great idea. So this was one of Ryan's first woodworking projects, and I wanted to make it easy and budget friendly. So these units themselves, the shelving portions, are Billy bookcases from IKEA, and I bought 6 of those, and then he framed them all in to look custom and to look like library. So that saved us time, money, and it was, simpler than him doing it all from scratch. And I think he did such a great job. We added these visual comfort sconces to add to that library feel. And I just love styling these shelves and playing around with all the different decor. For art here, I have 2 different pieces. This piece is from a local vintage antique store called Foxglove Dreams in Pittsburgh. I also love that store. I loved the seascape and the colors and the beautiful gold frame. And then I had an artist I found on Instagram. I commissioned these 2 pictures. There's one here and then one on the other shelves of my 2 pups. This one's Pete. And I sent her a few photos and worked with her to get the likeness, but she did such a great job, and they make me so happy to see. Obviously, I love my pups, so any little extra pictures of them, is always a nice touch. And then this frame is just an Amazon frame. It's the made to look like those museum frames, and I think it has a nice kind of formality to it for the pairing. I have a little collection of Delft vases here. I have a shell brass bookends. I love anything nautical, as I mentioned, ships and sea and shells. I feel like my soul is meant to be near the water, and I really bring that into my home with decor and books and art. So you'll see that as well throughout. And then, as I mentioned, lots of books, some ginger jars, and really just all styled together to be colorful and show the things we love and our memories, and they make me so happy. And I love to, like I said, style them and move things around and take books off and sit and read, and I'll do that quite often. And moving in a bit more, so a little kind of fun fact, all of the chairs in here, which there are 5, are a secondhand or collected find. So starting with these 2 among the fireplace, these were from another local Pittsburgh antique shop. They did not have the cushions, so I got them for a reasonable price, and then I had the cushions made, and they, believe it or not, are actually really comfy. I liked how they were smaller, could be kind of tucked in, but also function as additional seating for when needed. And then the 2 club chairs, they were also a secondhand find. A nice tip if you like to thrift an antique, Live Auctioneer's website, they have an app for your phone as well. You can search auction houses all over, and these were in, I believe, New Jersey. You can use U-Ship, which is a company to deliver items, and I had found somebody to deliver these for me, to a pair of club chairs. When they came, they were in perfect condition, other than the casters on the bottom were broken, so I did replace those. You can find affordable casters online, and that makes such a difference if you have like an old or broken caster down there. And then I did have them recovered. They were in a kind of yellowy, citron-y green fabric, and it just wasn't what I wanted. I really wanted a small print, botanical, leafy print to kind of feel older and really just jive with all the textiles in the room. And they're so comfortable, and I love them. I also have little pillows on here with the green fringe to pick it up. I think adding the little details makes such a difference when it comes to design. And at first your eye might not see them, but as you kind of explore it more, you can take everything in. And then this other chair was also a secondhand find. So I went to an estate sale in Pittsburgh a couple years ago, and it was a home that everything was so well loved and taken care of. And I had bought 4 chairs. They were all in wonderful condition, great brands. I think this is a Hickory. And truthfully, the fabric was beautiful and in perfect condition, but I did want to recover it to bring in a small kind of ticking stripe, so for a little more interest as well. And I think at the time, this was $25 or $30 the chair, so you can't find anything that well made for near that price, let alone even the not well made things. So definitely don't pass up antiquing and thrifting and estate sales, because you will find gems. And then kind of moving into this little corner here, because this room is so long, I really wanted to break it down and create little nooks and seating areas, because I think that's a great way to make a room still feel cozy. So I wanted a nice skirted table here. I had found the table underneath at a local antique store, and had a skirt made from my seamstress out of the Sister Parish fabric. I loved the large scale of the floral. It plays so nice with the other florals in the room, and it just is such a happy little space for some of my plants and topiaries. And I know topiaries are so, not controversial, but I'll get, how do you keep them alive? Or, they're so hard, or do you have a green thumb? And the answer is no to all these things. I do not have a green thumb. These are actually just resurrected. As you can see, they're kind of crazy. They had died, and I had brought them back. For the most part, I've found that if they are dead and not, even brown, but as long as the stem's still alive, you can regrow them. So buy one if you love them and try it out. But honestly, they are very hard to take care of, but they are so beautiful. So I had to keep trying. And then you'll see in my house a lot, there are a lot of pleated lampshades. I love the look of a pleated lampshade. I think it adds such a nice detail and feels really cozy and just gives off like a nice glow. And the lamp with it is a visual comfort lamp, but I actually found it on eBay. Don't sleep on eBay. I found it on eBay for, I think, 70%, 80% off. Such a steal. I have the same one in my office, but it was such a good deal I couldn't pass it up. And then I had the lampshade made to go with it. And then over here, I have another little thrift find. This table was a thrift find I found this year on my birthday and wanted another home for all my topiaries and some more books. And I love the warmth and the wood tones it adds. Again, this room is so long and it really has a nice cozy feel to break it up into the little nooks and the different seating areas. And then on the shelves over here, you'll see more art and decor. Here's the portrait of Henley that goes with the portrait of Pete. And this painting is a piece I got from an antique store that she had brought back from France. I love the colors. I'm a sucker for anything floral, and I love the moodiness of this. I think it's really enchanting. And then there's lots of books, and I have two little black lab bookends over here. So everywhere you look, there's a little treasure or piece of me and things I love that, again, just make me so happy to see when I'm in this space. And then looking down, just to make a note of, so again, I know I've said it a couple times, but this room is so long that one rug really felt too short, one normal size rug. So I went with a custom cut wool and sisal rug. This is from Annie Selke. I have tons of Annie Selke rugs in my house, and I use them for projects because they're just so great. But I had this cut to the room, and it really makes it feel cozy. I love when all the furniture is on the rug, and it makes it feel like one space. And then we'll walk over to the sofa. So this sofa is a new piece. I had one of my work rooms that I use for clients. I had it made. It is a super duper performance fabric, and you can literally clean a bottle of wine. Anything you can think of, it comes out of this. And I had this beautiful Samuel & Sons trim added. I think it gives it such a nice texture and playfulness to the space. And then I have a couple pillows. Usually, I have, like I said, I have two dogs, so these pillows, this is, show ready. But normally, they're thrown about and the dogs are lounging. But I think, having some pillows is always a way to make it feel cozy and switch up if your sofa's a little older and you want to bring in some new patterns. And then above it, I have a set of 8 botanicals. These botanicals I also found from live auctioneers. They were just the prints themselves, and I really love the idea of a fun mat. So I bought that marbled green paper from Etsy and used sprayed adhesive to just spray it to a mat and framed it myself with these wood bamboo frames. I think it looks really fun and gives it a unique touch and pulls more green into the space. And then something else that I really love to do in design in my own home and clients is layers of light. I think it's so important to have different heights and layers and functionality of light. You will rarely find a overhead light on in my home. I like it to feel cozy, so there's lots of different lamps and sconces. These 2 floor lamps are visual comfort. They are so cozy and so nice if you want to sit and read a book or just kind of curl up. They add such a nice task lighting, but it's also such a soft light as well. And then for the coffee table, so I was looking for something similar to this for this space. Needed it to be a little bit more narrow and not a typical size because of the width of the room. I loved scallops, so I ended up just designing it, and I had Ryan make it. As you can see, I love to style it. I put tons of books on it. I always have flowers. I also collect different little boxes from trips or antique stores. And you see like a brass with shelf, some shells, and in them I will store, one of the shell ones over here has like a remote and other little things. So it's a nice way to hide items you don't want shown, little boxes and things like that. But I love the look of a maximalist coffee table. But don't get it twisted. My husband's feet still find their way up here. If we have guests over, I will clear it off. We will put food, we'll put games. It's such a functional tabletop. And I also have a little kind of tribute to my gram here. She always, and I'm sure most of your grandmas did as well, but she always had a candy dish and she would fill it and change it out with the seasons. And I decided I wanted to have like a little candy dish. It just feels like going to grandma's or going home, and it has a nostalgia to it. And people love it. It's my little grandma moment, but I think it's really kind of special. And if you like the look of this coffee table, keep an eye out for spring of 2025, because there is something exciting coming. I can't say too much, but something to remember. So this is a frame TV, which is nothing new. I know a lot of you have seen these on Homeworthy before, but I truly love it. We've had this for 4 years now. It is such a great TV. And I have an Alexis Walter digital download in there, as well as a, kind of amped up ornate gold frame to really make it feel more of a piece of art. And I get questions about it all the time. People really think it's really cool, and it doesn't, necessarily look like a TV because there are no wires there. So it is a nice way to have a TV, because we are TV people, without being kind of in your face. And then I get asked about these draperies a lot. I really wanted a pretty floral pattern, multiple really in here that felt happy. And I loved this one from Sanderson, and you'll see on pillows and things, I love a good trim tassel fringe. So I added the Samuel & Son tassel fringe to add just a little bit of playfulness and color and texture. And I think it's a really pretty, fun way to enhance the window and bring in a softness to the room. So I actually went to college for business management and marketing, and had always wanted to be in a creative field such as marketing. I fell into IT project management after college and really loved project management, but knew IT wasn't the field for me. I'm a creative person. Growing up, I was always doing something creative. I was starting young, was rearranging my room and asking to wallpaper and paint and making jewelry and making clothes. So I knew I needed and wanted to be in something creative. The timing of buying our home happened to overlap with this search for what I wanted to do, and we completely renovated everything, and I fell in love with the design and decor, and just really knew at that point it was a passion. So I immersed myself in podcasts and books, and I started a social media so I could follow accounts I love, and then I started posting my own home, which kind of snowballed into some opportunities. I worked for a designer based out of Connecticut, which was amazing, and I went and did an online program for design, and ultimately knew I wanted my own firm. So in the end of 2021, I started Laura Solensky Design. So a few design tips that I think anybody really can take into their space is the power of paint. It is so impactful. You'll see a few rooms in my home that paint makes such a difference. You can also use decor. Things like plates and art can really transform a place, especially if you rent or you don't have it in your budget to wallpaper or anything. You can really kind of do phases of decor and paint to transform a space and make it feel like yours. I'd also say take your time. Everything in our home has evolved over time. You obviously start out and you have your apartment furniture and what you can afford, or your hand-me-downs, and some of those hand-me-downs, if you're lucky, are beautiful antiques, and then you can also collect. Secondhand shopping, thrifting, antiquing is such a great way to save money, to find unique quality pieces, and also have something that you can keep forever and take with you. I have a bunch of pieces, a few from family, a few that I've just collected over time, but that truly helps make your home feel like a home. And it takes time, so it's not gonna happen overnight, and that's okay. I think as your budget and your patience allows, you can continue building the home you love. So welcome to the kitchen. This space was one that we did completely renovate. We had a pony wall to divide the dining room and the kitchen, and a big pantry, which we took out. So we extended the space for additional counter space and cabinetry, and we added this center island. It really is such a functional place for cooking, for entertaining. We have, guests will always sit at the bar stools here and talk as we're, cooking or interacting. I have the bar stools were I want to say overstock find, and then I had them recovered with that pretty yellow fabric to add a little bit more color and pattern. And then, as I said, we completely gutted the kitchen, so everything really is new in here. As much as I love color and pattern, I think the kitchen being more neutral and white is always such a classic look and one that I always gravitate towards. And then I also really believe in a styled, homey feel in the kitchen. It doesn't have to be super utilitarian. Bring in a little lamp, art, books. It makes it feel more lived in. It makes it feel cozy and a room that you want to spend more time in, just as you would a living space. I had a little faux window shade, inside mounted window shade made with a Schumacher gingham print. I think it has like a nice informal feel to everything and really plays nice with the whites in the space. Again, you'll see lots of plates and plate walls in the house. And these 4 pieces I found antiquing in Nashville at a little thrift store. I have another topiary and then some ceramic fruit topiaries. I think they have a nice classic traditional feeling to them and make a nice styling for the kitchen. And then over here on this wall is one of my favorite things I've done decor-wise in the house. I love ships and the sea, and had started collecting these antique and vintage pieces and decided to display them together for a gallery wall. So this is something that truly is such a happy, serene point for me, because looking at the water, looking at these, these images and the seascapes really is so calming and calls to me, and I love them grouped together. All of them except for the smaller oval round ones are vintage antique. The oval ones and the round ones are Mary McGuire. I love her art, especially her sea and ships prints. But they're just collected over time and different, mediums, and I just love them all together. I think it's such a nice grouping and makes a nice collection. So this space is it's a mix and blend of formal and informal. I didn't want to go too formal because of its proximity to the kitchen. However, I love to entertain. I do a couple annual parties and dinner parties and have friends over, and I really wanted a space that felt special for that. When we have our Christmas party, we all gather in here and we'll sit and eat. I have an annual girls' little witches dinner in October where we live out our practical magic kind of dreams, and we'll do our cards and astrology, and we it's all decorated for that. So I really wanted that space that felt special. But me and Ryan also sit here every day and eat lunch or dinner, so there is that nice it doesn't feel stuffy. This table and chairs is more formal, but it was actually a secondhand find / buy from a formal client of mine. She was downsizing, and we originally were gonna work it into the plan, so we had her chairs recovered, and then ultimately she decided she wanted to start over with new furnishings. So she sold this, and I nabbed it up at a great price because she bought this for tens of thousands of dollars, and I did not. I spent a fraction of that, so it is such a special set to me. The table extends to 10 feet, and I have other chairs as well. So although it won't fit in here, I have grand plans for one day hopefully having a grand formal dining room and being able to fill the space. But we do extend it with the one leaf, and we can still fit that as well. But it adds, it's the formal piece that really the wood tones, and if you look at the bottom, there's beautiful brass cloth feet and etchings down there, and it just is such a special table and chair set that I love so much. This rug is also an Annie Selke. It's an indoor-outdoor, which is so great for eating spaces because they're super durable, super easy to clean. And as you notice in my home, I love big rugs. I think having the furniture on the rugs, all the furniture on the rugs makes such a difference. It makes the room feel large and cozy, and I love the subtle pattern of it. Back here, this buffet is a grass cloth buffet from Society Social. I love the relaxed and casual feel of the grass cloth. It's also such a nice texture compared to the wood and the shine, and it plays nice together. And then it also stores lots of china and glassware and is really functional for us. On the buffet, I have 2 rose medallion lamps. They were both ginger jars that someone previously transformed into lamps. They weren't well done, and the base was ugly. And so I bought these lucite bases from Etsy and had them rewired and this pretty pleated shade added to make it feel a little bit nicer. And I love the glow that the shade gives off. It's so cozy, and it's so nice to eat in here. And I turned the overhead light chandelier off, and we'll eat by candles and lamps and really make it cozy. This chandelier is from Visual Comfort. I've loved this chandelier forever, and kind of took the plunge on that a couple years ago, and it's just such a nice statement, such a pretty piece, and feels kind of southern, and I love that in the dining room space. Then above the buffet I have, so this wall is so large, and while I love wallpaper and still do consider wallpapering this space, I also want to keep a break of wallpaper in the house, and as we can afford more, and as I decide that, I wanted to fill the space with decor. So starting with this Venetian mirror, I had found this on Live Auctioneers as well. At first I had pinned it and had planned to bid on it, got distracted, forgot, was heartbroken, and then realized it did not sell, and they relisted it a couple months later. So I was able to grab that. It was a great deal. I can't remember exactly what I paid, but I know it was pennies compared to what they go for. And I had it, U-Ship bring it to me as well. And then I've been collecting this Bordalo plates and platters from different collections and different sizes for quite some time, and thought what a fun way kind of to display them, to bring texture and color and a collection that I love on the wall. So hung those with some of these antique vintage gilt wall sconces to really create a nice focal point there. I'm very big into collections. I think if you love something, within reason, collect it and display it. Don't hide your collections away. It's what makes you, it's what you love, and it's an interesting conversation, piece to have. So definitely display your collections. And then just touching on the table setting a bit, it's not casual, because we don't eat like this every day, but it's more casual in terms of the beautiful table settings you normally see. But I wanted to do kind of one that showed off the table and didn't cover the wood, so I used these pretty little gingham placemats with the nice little ruffle from Mrs. Alice, and paired it with a Bordalo gold basket weave plate that I bought. This was another Connecticut find. I bought 4 of these. I think they were like $2 a plate. I couldn't believe that. And then these are Majolica. They're very old, I think like 1890s. And they're kind of rare, and they are usually pretty expensive, but I found them at one of my antique stores I love called Heartwood Corners, and it was a really good deal, and just love them so much. So there's a set of 8 of those as well, but I have 4 out for now. And then I also have my grandma's little crystal water glasses and crystal vase with the flowers as well. I have quite a few of my grandma's different vases and dishware and glassware. We were kindred spirits in that way. She loved beautiful things and a beautiful table, and when she passed, she wanted me to have them, so we use those in all the special days. And I try to use them not just on special occasions. I think life is short, and celebrate the everyday. So if it's a beautiful glass, if it's a beautiful plate, it makes eating a piece of pizza or whatever just feel more special and exciting. So I try to live by that, which is also another reason I love thrifting and antiquing, because when they are more affordable, when something breaks, you're not super upset about it. So that is something that I try to, live by and enjoy. And then over here in the corner, I have a wicker plant stand and urn from Enchanted Home. I love the texture this brings in. Typically I have it decorated. I will throw hydrangeas in here, dried hydrangeas. I'll decorate it for the holidays. And it's just such a fun place to store flowers or a fern. But I wanted to leave it open to show you the stacked pieces of art back here. I love stacked art. You see a couple of those throughout. And this is kind of an unlikely pairing. The top is a nice landscape piece that I bought from a local thrift store, antique store. And the bottom I bought at an estate sale for $5. I thought the frame was beautiful. I love the still life with the fruit, and for $5, how could you not? So again, it's an unlikely pairing, but I think it creates a nice little vignette there. And over here, drapery. So I try to mix high and low where I can, whether that's antique and vintage and it's, a thrift find or a reasonable price, or something like this. So I knew I wanted some beautiful draperies in here. Fabric, as you know, can be very expensive. This fabric was from Spoonflower, which has lots of affordable options. I was able to customize the coloring, the green, to match the green in my other patterns, and I added a little tape trim here from Samuel & Sons to make it feel a little bit more custom and elevated, but such an easy way to get something that you love in drapery that is not as pricey as designer fabric. So that's a good resource as well. Now let me take you to one of my other favorite rooms, the study. So let's go over here. So I love to entertain. I love having, whether it's just my family or friends over. I do a couple annual different holiday celebrations. Christmas is one of them. I go all out. There's anywhere from 5 to 7 trees sprinkled throughout. Usually each room will have a color palette or a theme or something, and I like to change it each year. So it gives me a challenge to be creative and to try new things. So there's a tree in here, there's 2 in the dining room and the study upstairs, and then beyond that I use garland and lights, and I really make, I like to think I make it a magical place. So with that, I started to have a Christmas cocktail party with a bunch of friends. We dress up, we have good food, good drinks, good music, and we just enjoy the decorations. It's really fun. So Christmas is a big thing around here. I start early November because it takes a while to decorate. Usually a good couple weeks, and then I can enjoy it for a good full month into the new year before it has to come down. But I truly love that time. I think it's so cozy and magical, and I love to really make our home feel warm and just full of Christmas. So this is our study, also my husband's office and one of my favorite rooms in the house. I really have always loved the idea of a library out of an old mansion, and had really dreamed up something like that for this space. Originally, I wanted to do some paneling, lacquered paneling, but because of the walls being cut off with open doorways and windows, I thought let's save a little bit on woodworking and add crown molding and lacquer everything. It just adds such a glow and warmth and shine to the room that really makes you feel enveloped, similar to what I wanted, and I love that. You can see the lamp lights and the sconce lights really glowing off the lacquered paint, and I just love how that looks. These bookshelves built-ins I designed and then had Ryan build. So he actually built these from scratch, so there was no IKEA or anything like that, and his talents have really developed over the years. I constantly tease/beg him to go into business and work with me, and I know that'll never happen because ultimately I don't think he wants me to be his boss, but he does such talented, amazing work, so I will continue to put a bookshelf wherever I can. But I love to collect old books, so they are on the shelves, a couple pieces of art, to really give that library study feel. And then I designed the bottoms to be very deep and tall so that we could have additional storage for my dining room's china. So this one is my favorites cabinet. It ranges, mostly everything in here is older except for the blue plates I'll pull out in a second, but those are from Mrs. Alice. But I have glasses from my grandparents. I had always loved these gold and silver. These are low balls, and then there's wine glasses in there as well. But we would drink and use these for every holiday, and it was so special. So these were another things she wanted me to have, and I cherish them. These little coupes were just a thrift store. They were like $1 a glass. I love the cobalt glass. I think it's such a fun color, and it, you know, makes a nice little statement. And then I also have some etching coupes and wine glasses in there of some flowers. I think they're super pretty. I had kind of collected from different antique and vintage shops. They weren't expensive. So again, if one of these were to break, it's not a big deal. The only ones I'd be sentimental about are my grandparents, but I still would rather enjoy them than not. And then in here, I have a bunch of my favorite plates. So me and my mom, we love to antique and thrift together. It's become such a joint passion of ours, and I've learned a lot from her. And she's always had such a natural decorating talent to make the house feel cozy. And one of our trips, we had found these garden plates. There's a whole set, but I'll just pull out these. And I truly loved them. They were a really great price. So she bought them for a Christmas gift a few years ago. And I think they look so beautiful in all of the seasons. They look amazing around Thanksgiving with all the fruits and foliage, and then obviously in the spring and summer. I have these citron Bordalo little plates I found at an antique store. I loved the coloring here. And then I had found this set of 6 Majolica plates. I love this green. Also in my Connecticut trip, they were a really great price. It was six of them for, I think, like $50 or $60. I mean, if you know the value of these, they go for a lot, more than that at least. So that was a great find. And then the Mrs. Alice plates down here. These aren't the only like new item in here, but these are this like blue cabbage plate from Mrs. Alice, and they are great. They can go with just about anything as well. So that is kind of the plate collection. And you also can see down here I have a bunch of salt and pepper shakers. I started collecting those with my mom as well. We both have a collection. So I have a couple of the fruit topiaries. I just got these little dogs. And I have seashells. I have some silver plated ones, but I think they're really fun to switch out with a tablescape as well. So that has become a newer collection and something fun to shop with my mom. And then for furniture in here, the little love seat was made by one of my vendors as well. I needed a specific size, and I really wanted a green velvet love seat. I love, love, love this color and shine on this one. This is from Schumacher. It's a performance velvet, and it'll kind of distress over time, which is fine. I want it to feel lived in and cozy. And this is one of the dogs have free reign, but this is one of their favorite nap places. They can look out the window, and then they can sit here, watch Ryan work, or just kind of be in the center of everything. This space really, because it's a library feel in Ryan's office, I wanted to keep it somewhat more masculine and feel than some of the other spaces, but I think it's important to have a blend in every space to feel balanced. But this green, this is Farrow and Ball breakfast room green. It's one of my favorite greens. It's just such a happy tone. I don't personally love like the super deep moody colors. I just love that it has enough saturation and vibrance that it doesn't feel super dark, but it still feels like you're color drenched in this green, and I love it. So me, my mom, and sister started a little tradition a couple years ago. We like to call it our back to school trip, even though none of us are going back to school, but we try to do a short 3-4 day trip at the end of August somewhere. They've been closer places, driving distance. And my sister is not an antique thrifter at all. We are very opposite, but again, me and my mom are, so we'll sneak in a day or two of that. And this was from last year. We went to St. Michael's, and this was at an antique store there. So I loved the moodiness of it and the storm, the colors. I just thought it would fit right into that library feel. And then the ottoman here, so the ottoman and the chair, they're both secondhand finds. The ottoman was a Facebook Marketplace find. It had, some of the casters were broken, which we replaced, and then the fabric on top was terrible condition. It was red, it was torn, it was stained. So I did have it recovered in this Schumacher gingham, same as the kitchen window shade, but I bought the ottoman for $25. I mean, and it gets beat up because the dogs use it as a launch pad, you know, back and forth onto the sofa and whatnot. But, you know, the beauty of that, $25 and a yard and a half of fabric, you really can't beat something like that. I know ottomans, if you look, can be pretty pricey. So that was a great find. And then the chair was one of the chairs I'd purchased at that estates sale. There was 4 of them. I have the 2 in my home. One went to my mom, one went to a client. But this is a very wide club chair. It was not in great condition fabric-wise, but everything else was perfect. So I had it reupholstered, and I added this relaxed ruffle skirt to it as well. I thought it gave it such a nice casual, romantic, you know, romantic from my husband's office kind of feel, but it was a nice balance of floral to the other, you know, the solidness of the paint and the other more plain kind of fabric. So I love this chair. The dogs love this chair. It's just so cozy. And above it, I added this oil painting of a fisherman. This was an estate sale find as well. I got it on half price day. I don't know how, for $100. And I just love everything about it. I love the yellow gold frame with the distressing of the red coming through. I love the fisherman and his kind of stature and face. It's like he could tell you a million stories. And the moody quality of it, I think it just draws you in. So I thought that created such a little nice moment and really felt that old library feeling that I wanted. And then I have this is the blue and white planter that I'll use for my Christmas tree in here. The tree will sit right here. And right now I have a little lemon tree in it. I got this lemon tree recently at a nursery locally for $9 because everything is super inexpensive because it's the end of the season. So we'll see if I will actually keep it alive and, better yet, actually produce a lemon. But I thought that was a nice little placeholder when there is no tree in here. And then on the windows, I have these woven shades. I didn't want to really block the light, but I wanted some texture and a covering for privacy if needed. So I added these. These were really inexpensive, from Select Blinds, I believe. And I think they added such a nice color, texture, and kind of added to that study older feeling versus taking up space with fabric and draperies. Welcome to the primary. This is obviously our bedroom and such a relaxing space, and one that I wanted to make feel really cozy, a little bit more feminine and traditional and southern in the way that I'll repeat the pattern and I'll show you. But starting over here, I have this antique mirror I bought from an antique store locally. It's the etching of the glass with the floral is so pretty, and in the frame, I think it's a great way to have a little kind of get ready moment, but also bounce the light around in here. The nightstands are actually from Ballard Designs. I loved the texture and how the wood tone, because there is so much white and blue. I didn't want it to feel too pretty, so I wanted to kind of have some wood pieces as well. I have another visual comfort lamp with these pleated shades. The wallpaper in here and the fabric, the fabric's repeated on the bed, headboard, on the pillow, on the bed skirt, and the draperies. So the fabric and the wallpaper is from Erin Donahue Tice line. She's an artist. She made this textile line off of her art. And I just loved how it feels so calming, but also has such a nice, pretty pattern and color to it. The wallpaper has like a trellis. When you stand far away, you can kind of see the light, the way that the botanicals really shape together. And then the larger botanicals on the fabric. I had this headboard. I purchased a Wayfair headboard that was inexpensive and had it recovered. It was a way to get it faster and much less than having it custom made. And I also used a Samuel & Sons little pencil trim to kind of outline the details to give it a little bit more, detail to it as well. And like I said, I had a bed skirt, a ruffled bed skirt made out of the same fabric. I loved the traditional romantic feel of that. The repeat of the pattern really feels traditional and cozy as well. This is an estate sale find, one of my favorites. This was from the 1800s. I got this. It was another steal, honestly. I got it on half price day, and we use it as our dresser. I love the wood. I love the shape. It's such a character piece. And then obviously we have, you know, a not so pretty TV, but again, we're TV people and, you know, you got to live in your home. And then on top of the dresser, I like to keep a little kind of tray of my jewelry. Some of it isn't special. Some of it's just, you know, kind of everyday things, but all of the little bowls and jewelry boxes are vintage finds. This jewelry box was a recent estate sale find. It is broken. I want to get it fixed, but I loved the silver and the teal inside, and everything in here in this little box is vintage. So like this little bangle I'd found at a little thrift store. I don't know why, but it spoke to me. It's kind of not an everyday piece, obviously, but it's a fun piece. I love bangles. The one I have on is a vintage find, and then these are as well. And then I love little like costume vintage rings. These three are all finds that I've, you know, different stores and estate sales. This little heart I think is so cute. But they can really make an outfit, and they're usually pretty inexpensive because not many people, you know, are hunting for these things. And then I also have, this was my grandma's, this little shell box, and a couple little pins and brooches from my grandma as well. They're nice to style on like a purse or like a blazer or something. I know it's a little old fashioned, but I think it's kind of nostalgic and fun. And also, like I said, I love that was my grandma's. And I have some more hydrangeas here from my garden. I have probably like 15 to 20 hydrangea bushes. So it's now the time to collect and cut them. So you will see them everywhere. Over here I have this is an antique bamboo table I found at an estate sale as well. Another super inexpensive find. It is kind of beat up and broken because it is so old, but I think it's a really nice piece for plants or really just anything, an end table, and I love the tones of what it picks up. I have two little vintage bird pieces here from just a local store. I thought the character of the birds was so cute and playful, and I liked the coloring together with the space. And then you'll see here this chase I also bought at the same estate, so I bought the dresser for $25. It's a little beat up, but it is so adorable. This is some type of designer fabric. I'm not sure exactly what. And I love the pleated, box pleated skirt. This is my one dog, Henley's favorite spot to lay. At night, she'll come over here and she can also kind of look out as well. But it adds such a nice place for putting on clothes or packing or just sitting and reading as well. So it's a nice little corner by the window. So above the bed, I have this little federal mirror. I think you can see it's such a large wall, and I think there's something so charming about a small piece of art or mirror above, you know, above the bed, and then also on a large wall. It plays with the scale and it kind of draws your eye in, and I just love the juxtaposition of the large wall with such a small piece. But I think it's just a fun way to add a little bit of charm without going over the top. And again, just because you have wallpaper doesn't mean you can't hang things. I love to still hang art and mirrors to really create the layers to make it feel cozy. And then right outside our bedroom is our upstairs hallway. I have another Etsy Turkish rug up here. Was also purchased on a sale, very inexpensive, but a nice way to add some softness and color to a space that you would overlook. So many people think a hallway, you know, isn't important, and in some degree it isn't, but you also pass it all the time. So why not make it a little fun and add some color and personality? I continued the wallpaper, the Waterhouse wallpaper up here, and I have this little vintage botanical as well. And then at the end of the hall, I have a floor, almost to ceiling, gold mirror. This has kind of become the outfit, get ready mirror that I can check before I leave. This was a live auctioneer's purchase for $50, believe it or not. So it fits perfectly right here and is such a nice way to check before you go out the door. Let's go outside and see the patio and garden. So you're catching us on a little bit of a gloomy day and kind of end of season, so it isn't as robust color-wise as normal, but still I think pretty in one of my favorite places to be. I have lots of different topiaries and plants scattered throughout to really create a green wall and kind of garden feel up on the patio and deck. All of the furniture out here is vintage. This set was, actually both sets were from Facebook Marketplace, super inexpensive. And then these cushions I just purchased online. They are outdoor friendly. Again, we're putting them to use today a bit, but super comfortable. This stone console I also found on Facebook Marketplace. A garden store in Ohio was going out of business and we're selling everything super cheap. And so we went up there and weighed down our car with this and these two cement planter urns you can see right over here. So the car was dragging on the way back, but it was so worth it. And I just love the kind of European feel they bring to this space. Again, I love boxwoods and different plants. I have behind, they're all out of season, but they're my peony plants. I have a couple hydrangeas. All over here are a bunch of limelights. They're all starting to kind of dry and pink for the season because we've had such high heats and up until this point, not a lot of rain, so a lot of it dried out early. And then this trellis has two roses on them, which have been growing like crazy recently. And as it welcomes you kind of into the garden here. So this space was all grass when we moved in and had a bit of a flooding issue and was also just kind of boring. I wanted to create a garden feel. I love pea gravel. I love the sound of it. I love how it looks weird, but I always knew I wanted to have like a pea garden kind of courtyard feel. So we made this pathway with rocks and pea gravel and then created like a little seating area over here. It's so nice under this tree, and when at night we turn these overhead lights on, and it just feels so secluded and cozy here. And then throughout, I had Ryan build me garden beds in an L shape around the house to make the structure of the garden. I have lime lights. I have my original Endless Summer hydrangeas. Again, they're all kind of done for the year, but the Endless Summer original ones are new, so they will get bigger. And then this fountain was a recent estate sale find. I got this for $50. And it's more of like a bubbler fountain, but I think it's so calming and so pretty. I love the little acorn pineapple shape on top, and it makes it such a nice little sound when you're sitting over here eating or just kind of hanging out. And then as you go on, there's more hydrangeas. This little this structure arbor I found in an estate's antique store, and again I have grand dreams of an even bigger garden one day if we move, but I thought I wanted to still display it and kind of have the the hydrangeas kind of twirl around it to create another little structure. And there's a little bench I also got from Facebook Marketplace that matches but doesn't match exactly to the furniture, but it all has that kind of metal iron vintage look to it. And then lastly, the only other little thing, I love little statues and the cement pieces, and this little cement dog is kind of the garden protector and little guy. He was also part of the purchase at the estate sale. I got him for $10. I love little, as you know, dogs and characters, and so having them kind of sprinkled throughout I think gives such a nice little quirky presence and makes it feel more interesting to the garden. So this is my garden. This is one of my happy places. I love to come out here and cut flowers. You can see I've already cut a bunch and they're inside, but there's still a bunch left. And it truly is a happy place for me and a place I spend a lot of time. Home to me is warmth, happiness, love, safety. It's truly my happy place. I love to travel, I love to go out, but Coming home is just such a happy feeling. It has so many wonderful memories here. I know, my pups are waiting for me. My favorite things are on display. It's colorful, it's happy, and it's just a place I love to be. I think that should be, no matter what your style is, your home should be your happy place. And however happy it translates to you, that's how you should make your home feel.
Today on Homeworthy, we're bringing you to San Antonio, Texas for a look inside interior and textile designer Elaina Fagan Darden's charming home. Initially a blank canvas, Elaina has spent the past year infusing personality into each space with eye-catching patterns and cheerful hues. Throughout the home, you'll notice traditional decor, color-drenched rooms, and even beautiful artwork that Elaina has painted herself. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Elaina and welcome to my home in San Antonio, Texas. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in. So my husband and I moved into this house in March of 2023. The kitchen and the bathrooms had been really nicely redone, and so we didn't have to have a big construction project on our hands, which was nice, and it was completely white. All the walls were white, and so I got to come into this blank canvas and add all of my crazy pattern and color, which you'll see. Right now we're standing in our entryway, which kind of doubles as this front living room. It's a really great conversation space to kind of sit here with our friends. And right here we have a camelback sofa that was my great-grandmother's that I recovered. I love incorporating heirloom pieces from my family and my husband's family. I think it makes it really special and kind of adding in some things that we collect together to that. So I recovered the sofa of my great-grandmother's. It sits in the window, so you walk up and see kind of the arched back, which I think is really pretty when you're first looking into the home. And it's also our little mini poodle's favorite spot to sit and just watch the cars go by and watch the dogs on their walks through the neighborhood. She sits right here on this little curve, and it's really cute. So I love that piece. And then the drapery in here is from my textile collection. This is the pattern called Georgie, and all of my patterns I created from my own watercolors, and I turned them into patterns digitally, and they're printed on this beautiful linen, and so you'll see bits of that throughout the home as well. I, growing up, was really influenced by my mother and my two grandmothers as far as design, and I love bringing in those traditional elements and mixing them with some unexpected colors and patterns and kind of freshening that up. So this is kind of my take on traditional design. The elements in here are a lot of antiques, a lot of heirlooms. I love these tables from Blueprint in Dallas. I think the shine on this wood and the slightly modernized shape really adds a good sleek touch to this room. And the art in this room, these pieces, I watercolored for our wedding invitations, and then my mom framed them for me, and I love that they kind of add a little nod to that throughout the room and add some fun color and flowers to this room. This fireplace is original to the home. I whitewashed the stone so that it blended a little bit better with the walls, and we love using this in the winter. Right now we are not using it so much in Texas, but it does work, and it just adds a lovely homey feel to this conversation space. On the mantle I have a little collection of porcelain pieces. I think these are just really sweet and add a little detail. Dropped a couple of plants in them and some pretty twisted candles. The painting above the fireplace I did kind of out of a budget need. I just felt like I knew what I wanted there, and I started putting some paint on canvas so that works right above the fireplace and ties in the rest of the room. And obviously we love green here, so it pulls that in a little bit. I love having little moments of personality hinted throughout the space, so I have a lot of nods to our wedding just kind of sprinkled in. This was a gift for our wedding from one of my mom's best friends, and I think it's really sweet. And then I kind of just have like wedding photos that didn't get framed kind of nestled around to look at. I think that's just a special little touch and to remember such a fun day. I love collecting books. I've been doing it since college, except I moved almost every year through college. And so I learned it was kind of hard to move when you have this many books, but still kept doing it. And now we're more settled, so I can keep adding to the collection. And I love having bringing in colors through the coffee table books and then layering in some little porcelain pieces. These are heirlooms from my husband's side of the family, and some photo albums on the coffee table and on all of the tables. So I love having those around for inspiration and just more layers, and I love seeing books pile up and being able to flip through them and get that inspiration there. These chairs I stole from my mother and recovered them in this paisley that I love. I love the colors in this paisley, and these tiny lumbar pillows with fringe I think is just kind of a fun, updated traditional look. I love the rolled back, and the way this pattern is, I think just makes them a little kind of funky, but still very traditional. I loved the idea of putting chairs here instead of a sofa to keep this walkway a bit more open and to keep the spaces open to each other. And although a narrow walkway, it just does go into the breakfast room, and so I think being able to flow through this space works really nicely with these chairs. I wanted to cover in this beautiful Carolina Irving fabric. I've always loved her Patmos stripe. It comes in a million colors, and I loved the brown here to bring it, just to keep the colors a little bit less girly. Thinking of my husband, he doesn't mind all the color and girliness here, but this little brown stripe was my bit for my husband in this room. My husband is very go with the flow when it comes to my designs. He says he loves what I create, and he'll veto every now and then, and when he does, I know to pivot because he really doesn't very often, so I'm lucky in that way. The fiddle leaf in our entry loves this space. I think it gets a lot of good natural light coming in from this front window and front door, and so this is the first thing you see when you walk in, and she's kind of our little welcoming tree in a fun little chinoiserie pot. And this marbled starburst mirror is a little favorite piece of mine as well. It's from a little marbled paper maker I follow on Instagram, Parvum Opus, I think is how you say it. And I love her work, so I knew I wanted something from her and would love to keep collecting some of those pieces. So that's my first one. As you can see, the home is really open, and so the living room just spills into the dining room, so we'll head there next. I have a table here that was my great-grandmother's that is really pretty underneath this tablecloth that I have on. I love that dark wood, but I also love that I can set it with lots of different tablecloths. And these chairs I picked up on Cherish, so kind of a new addition to our collection, and I recovered them in a yellow velvet I've been dying to use for years. So I loved having that pop of yellow in this room. And I have the table set with this beautiful linen tablecloth from Over the Moon. It has lots of different embroidered flowers, and I loved that it kind of brings in everything from throughout the home right there. And Our wedding china is out with these Mrs. Alice linens. My mother and both of my grandmothers definitely instilled a love for setting the table. Even if it's just a casual experience, it really just elevates anything you're doing and makes it really special for your guests or just for you and your family. So we always have taken a lot of joy in setting the table and enjoying a meal together. This buffet I picked up from Le Chateau in Atlanta, and it's a great storage piece. I should talk about the wallpaper. This is also from my collection. I grew up in Texas, spending a lot of time outdoors, and I was always so enchanted by the wildflowers every spring, and so I knew I wanted to create a pattern that pulled in some of those wildflowers that I always have loved, and so this is that pattern. I named it Adela after my great-grandmother who raised 7 children on a farm in South Texas, so that seemed fitting. And just layered in some pieces over that. I love this mirror, that it's a little bit more funky than the kind of frilly paper. And I have some wall brackets. I can keep fresh flowers on those and change them out, which is fun. And I love that the buffet is a bit monochrome with the paper, so it's a little tone on tone, and then we have the dark wood on the table, so that adds some contrast there. So there was a light fixture here that was a very modern nickel fixture, which just was one of the first things to replace. And I found this on First Dibs and just thought it was perfect and got it installed. And I really love just all the details and the little crystal ball hanging, and think it kind of brings a fun traditional element to the space. And then I love having the sisal rug here to kind of keep things a little more casual with some more formal elements happening in this space. I think having this natural texture is really nice, is a nice balance, especially since it's the center of the home and we are walking through it all the time, all day. So right off of the dining room, we'll move into the kitchen, which is one of the only white spaces remaining in the home. And as a lover of color, I just think I will never get tired of a white kitchen. It's so classic and crisp, and it definitely is, it's a good visual break from all of the color too here. When we first looked at the home, I just could really see myself in this kitchen, and it kind of helped solidify the home for me that this was gonna be it. And it's really a great functional space for us. We love the countertop that was already here. We really got lucky with what they did, and everything just works really great and we love it. So we continued the Adela print onto a soft Roman shade in this window, which I love that it makes it feel like a whole continuous space with the dining room too. And on this wall, I have a Paige Sperrin piece framed. She's a favorite artist of mine, and I just think her work is so fun and cheerful, and this wall was calling for something bold like this to me, and so I love this piece hung here. So we have 2 bar stools right here that are a great space for just a casual lunch and really great conversation if someone's cooking and someone's snacking. We love using these little stools right here, and I love the traditional shape and finish on those too. This is not a very big kitchen, but it feels really open and spacious, and I love that the cabinets go all the way to the ceiling. It just really kind of rounds out the space and makes it feel a little bit bigger than it is. These light fixtures were here when we moved in, and I liked them, and so they're one of the few light fixtures that stayed, and I think they're a great little fresh touch to the space. Welcome to the breakfast room. I really wanted to drench this space in green, and I love this very fresh, bold green here. I kind of think of this as like my English garden room, and I love this space. This is one of my favorite spaces in the house, I think. It's just a great room for a meal with my husband and I, or I'll come in here and work, and we have the TV in here, which maybe isn't as the most pretty thing that we could have done, but you have to live. So I love having the TV in here so I can kind of sit on my computer and get some work done or paint or something like that in here. So it's very multifunctional and it gets great light, and we have a lot of little details to cover. On the drapery in here, this is one of my patterns. This is called Lucille. This, I think, is my favorite pattern, or up there, because I designed this for our wedding tablecloths, and we actually have one of the tablecloths that I was able to get all the wine out of here. And this just stays on this table, and I think it kind of makes the room to have the pattern repeated in so many places. On the walls, I have this gorgeous set of china from my husband's grandmother, and so I think that's a really special touch in here. I actually hadn't thought of it. My mom came over one day and I had the china out, and she picked it up and was like, you need to put this all over the walls in here. And so it just really informed the design in this room with those pops of pink and the green on the walls. So once I had the plates on the walls, I knew I wanted to pull a little pop of pink through the room. So these lampshades were the perfect way to do that. And I think they add kind of an unexpected touch to all the green in this room, and just kind of a little contrast to that. I love this little console of my grandmother's that is mounted to the wall right here. It's perfect because this pathway is very narrow, so it needed to be something that didn't have a lot of depth, and I think it's the perfect little piece right there to keep these extra serving pieces on. Under the console table, I have this wicker picnic basket that houses all of the TV equipment that you don't want to see, and I love the juxtaposition of that underneath a more formal marble and gold tabletop. On the chairs, I have some really cute ruffled cushions from Mrs. Alice. I think they are the perfect little layered addition to the space. They pair so well with the pattern on the drapery, and I think they just add the perfect fun touch in here. So bringing in some more woven and natural materials to this space, I think really kind of pulls in that English garden feel to me. I love having this pedestal with a little fern in it, and just love the texture and layer that brings to the space, and then mirrored in the rug. This fireplace is actually the back side of our entry fireplace, and just really adds another cozy touch to this room. It makes it so homey in here, and I have another Paige Sperrin piece on top of this fireplace. And this also, I whitewashed the stone, and just it feels very crisp and fun to me, and I love having those two fireplaces in the home. So this is a great little closet off of the breakfast room where I can store china and glassware, which has always been another creative outlet that I love, working with a tablescape, and bringing that into a design is really fun to me. So this is a great little spot to store those pieces. This set of plates, which is hanging all over the wall, is one of my favorites, and so it's fun to be able to bring this out, and it matches the walls. And this was my husband's grandmother's. She had a huge set of it, and so it takes up a whole shelf in here. And then above it, we have our wedding china, which is a beautiful Haviland pattern that I just am obsessed with, and that goes right there. And then I love these little silver goblets that CC Barfield designed with Lulu Ladoon, and they have just beautiful floral etching, and they're perfect for, you can use them as a vase with some flowers, or as water glasses on a table too. Welcome to our family room. This is such a workhorse room for us. We spend a lot of time relaxing here, unwinding after a long day and enjoying a show together, spending some time here. And it's just a really comfortable, functional room for us, which I love. And I color drenched these walls in this really fun blue shade. And the floor in here actually used to be a very dark green tile. And we couldn't figure out what we wanted to do with the floor, if we wanted to continue the wood, but I kind of loved having it broken up and a different material here. And so we actually painted the tile. My amazing painter did this diamond pattern. I don't think he quite knew what a task it was going to be, but he did a beautiful job, and it brightened up the space so much, and I think added a lot of interest that really was needed in such a kind of expansive room that didn't have a lot of architecture going on. So we loved that change that we made. When you walk into this space, we have this antique piece here that holds some more storage underneath, and I love these lamps that I found in Palm Beach that pull all of these colors together, and then you'll see those colors again in this piece of art on this wall here. So the proportions of this room are kind of interesting because it's just kind of a large open space, but when we were looking for houses, my husband really wanted a big room like this that could hold a sectional. That was one of his few design requests. And so we have this really comfortable sectional and a pair of comfortable lounge chairs that have an adorable little box pleat skirt. Both of these are in perennials fabrics, so they're super durable and you can get pretty much anything out of them, which is definitely necessary for a space like this. This rug I felt really picked up the blue in the walls and the greens from around the house to kind of tie it all together in this room. And then I love having the contrast of a white sofa on top of that bold color. And I think the pattern mix of the tile and the rug, I wasn't quite sure it was gonna work, but I really wanted it to, and I think it does. So I was excited about that when we unrolled the rug. And I love this sweet elephant side table right there. That's from Amanda Lindroth's store, and it's just really darling. The light fixture in this room needed to be something kind of low. We don't have a super high ceiling, but I think this adds just a really fun, unexpected touch there. And then the coffee table, I wanted just a big coffee table I could layer books on and we have some matchbooks from all the places we've been and love, and a lot of little layers there. My husband's other request for this room was a large TV to go with his large sofa, and it just so happened to work really well in this space, and it really does function for the way we live so well. Under the TV, I have a take on a toile pattern that I designed with scenes from around Lake Como where we got married, and so that's a fun touch there. And I actually have some little shelves from Amazon underneath so I can store some things, but it's pretty on the outside. With the lightness in the furniture here, I really wanted to anchor the space with some darker wood tones, and so we have these two demi-lune pieces on either wall that have some photos from our wedding, and the drapery here is another pattern of mine. This one I call Peggy's Garden. Peggy is my mother, and I grew up with her being very artistic and loving florals, and she had this garden when I was little where I remember the sunflowers being like as tall as this ceiling, and I just remember being so captivated by that. And so this is kind of, I feel like, a pattern from a child's point of view of just like wandering around her mother's garden. So that I think is a really special touch here, and it's such a fun pattern with all of these colors, and I love the white against the blue wall and kind of tying in all of the colors from around the house. We obviously need a lot of surfaces for books in this house, so We have a lot of tables sprinkled throughout the space, and I love the mix of textures that we have going on. We have a woven console here. This is a great space to kind of sit with these doors to the outside open, and then continuing that woven texture mix that we have going. This is a great little piece that's kind of a drop zone when you walk in the back door, and I have this box that I think is so cute, and it houses our cords. So that's a pretty way of kind of hiding something functional that you have to have. So I like playing with those kind of things. So we have a series of photos throughout this room by our wedding photographer. She is absolutely amazing, Kristen Kilpatrick. She's so talented, and we blew up these beautiful photos that she took our wedding weekend of scenes around Lake Como, and that's just kind of another special nod to that day. This piece has kind of a funny story. I was helping the ICAA, the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art, with an event they were putting on, the John Staub Awards, and Kashi Plaster, which is a fabulous plaster and metalwork company in Dallas, made these centerpieces for the tables for that event, and they had flowers and things on them. And since I was helping, they were kind of handing them out to people as they were leaving, and I grabbed one, and it's just kind of followed me to a couple houses. But I always think it's kind of a fun little addition to a space, and I love that kind of classical detail in here. Next, I'd love to show you the primary bedroom, so follow me. Here we are in the primary bedroom. The pink continues, and this room really shows how much of a trooper my husband is. It's Queen Anne Pink by Benjamin Moore. I just think it's such a soothing color, and I really love it in here, and my husband loves it too. He was totally on board, but it was funny, the first night it got painted and he laid down and he looked up at the ceiling and he was like, the ceiling's pink too. For some reason, the ceiling being pink was like the boundary, but he likes it. And I have a beautiful Bella Notte coverlet and shams. I like to keep pillows on a bed pretty simple, just to encourage putting them back on in the morning easily. So we just have 2 jumbo shams. Bella Notte does these amazing, really big shams and inserts, and then a little bolster in front of those. The nightstands, I loved that they add a bit more storage to this room. These are from Le Chateau in Atlanta, and they're a great piece for storing sweaters and things like that, but also serve as a really functional nightstand. And then for the bedside lamps, we have these wall-mounted swing arm sconces that I think add a really homey and cozy feel to the space. This art series of botanicals is from Oka, and I love how they tie in with this pattern. They seem like they were just meant to be together, and the pattern repeats a couple times throughout the space on the headboard and on a bench in front of the bed, and then on the drapery. It's a great sized bedroom. We love being able to have a seating arrangement over here by the window, and we have some kind of funkier, more modern pieces of furniture, which I think is a nice mix-up in here. A boucle love seat and these funky pink chairs, which work perfectly with the wall, and some blackout drapery, of course, and a little ottoman that's great for packing a suitcase or anything like that. I always love having a bench at the end of the bed. It ends up being so functional for putting your shoes on or packing your carry-on and things like that. So it definitely gets used a lot, especially by our puppy, so she can hop up on the bed, and it's a great little addition right there, I think. Moving into this ensuite bathroom, we have this really sweet, whimsical pink wallpaper that actually was here when we moved in, and I decided to keep it and continue the pink into the bedroom. So I love the pink swirls through the marble here and the brass fixtures. It's just a really great, fresh space. 2 separate sinks is pretty important in a marriage, so we have a great space here for both of us to be getting ready at the same time. The sconces on the mirror help give some great light for a good little makeup spot and just add a good softness to the space as well. We got really lucky in being able to move in and have these beautiful updated bathrooms already done so that we didn't have to take on the project ourselves. And I just think they are really beautiful and fresh and clean, exactly what I would have done myself, so saved me a little extra work. Welcome to my studio. This is where I work every day, where I design homes and textiles, and it's a really fun space with a lot of personality and love that goes into it. I love having a vision board at all times. I'm kind of always adding to it, and I have some of my textile strike-offs kind of hanging just as kind of inspiration and decoration at the same time. I have some fabrics that are outgoing and scraps in the corner. This is a great functional space to keep some kind of fabrics and things that I'm working on, sending out to the upholsterer and things like that. And some shelves with more, I keep my watercolors in a little crystal dish here, and calendar and my watercolor palette there that kind of are easily accessible but also serve as decoration in here. This home has been a great place for me to experiment and kind of try things out that I want to suggest to clients that maybe they would be a little bit more hesitant on. So we have a lot of crazy things going on, but just kind of pouring out ideas out of my head that has been really fun to experiment with. So over here we have a whole wall of fabric samples and memos and things that I'm kind of referencing all the time, organized by color and pattern type, that I'll pull out a basket and work on a scheme for a client right at this table. So it's a really great functional wall, but also I love having the baskets to keep it pretty, and I keep some watercolors in these bins on top. So it's an easy way for me to store those, but it also serves as decoration. So that's kind of the theme in this office, is things that are useful but also pretty. When designing interiors and textiles, I really look to nature for inspiration. I love all different kinds of flowers and pulling the colors and boldness of those, and traveling, of course, to especially Lake Como with my first collection was such an inspiration while planning my wedding, and obviously there's no shortage of inspiration there. So that has been really fun to design with. I really love a combination of blue and green. I think it's such a soothing palette for my clients' homes, and I feel like I end up doing a lot of play on those colors, which obviously come from nature, and I think depending on the setting you can use different blues and greens, but they always are tried and true and work for any home and space. So I wanted to show you our front porch really quickly. We have layers of vines growing out here. They grow really nicely in the sun here and greet you when you walk up, which I think is really great. And I'm working on getting some jasmine to grow around this arch here. So hopefully by next year it'll be full and blooming and smelling amazing. So that will be fun to see. And I love having this little iron table here. I think it's so sweet and a great place to sit and have a cup of coffee in the morning and kind of people watch as people are walking their dogs and everything. I have a little lemon tree right here. We'll see if we get any lemons off of it soon. And then in this window, you kind of get a peek of what's to come in the house. So I love that, and seeing the back of that camelback sofa again, I think is just a fun detail when you walk up to the house. To me, home means family and having a beautiful and functional space that works with the way you live, that shows your personality and makes you happy to be in it. So Homeworthy, I've loved getting to show you around today and take you through what home means to me in my home. So until next time.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Kristie. Welcome to my home in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Kristie McGowan. I am an interior designer with a firm called Kristie McGowan Home, and welcome to my home in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. My family and I have lived in this home for about 10 years, and the architectural style is very traditional Southern. The home itself is about 22 years old, and we are the third owners of this house. When we first moved in, it was totally different than it is now. It was beautiful in its own right because it has amazing architectural details, but it was very gray and neutral. And it didn't have as much texture and color and everything that it does now. And so we really added a lot of the architectural details on the ceiling and the walls, and really played up some of the features that the home has. Professionally and educationally, my background is actually in textiles. I have a PhD in textile technology and management, which is what originally brought me to North Carolina, was to do my master's, which then turned into a PhD in my later years. I have always loved interiors, and I have always enjoyed it, but I think when you're a little bit younger, and I see this a lot in college kids, is you don't appreciate home as much, and interiors and fashion is really exciting. So the early part of my career was more in the fashion industry, and then the later part of my career is really where I transitioned and realized that yes, I have a passion for fashion, but I actually have more of a passion for interiors and bringing a home to life and kind of creating an amazing home, but also sharing that with people. I also have another side of my company, which is content creation, which is sharing ways for people to be able to create homes that they love and really embrace their own personal style, so that they have a home that they absolutely adore and just brings them joy when they walk in the door. Welcome to the entry of my home. And one of the things that I absolutely was drawn to with this house was how big our entryway is, because I can treat it as an entirely separate room from the rest of the house. And so some of my favorite things in here are the pink grass cloth ceiling, which a lot of times people don't notice until they've actually been in our home a couple of times. But I absolutely adore the color pink. And so to put it in our entryway was really important to me. We have this table that kind of centers the room, which is really fun. And art is something that I just absolutely adore. And so this book is called Wonderland, and it is by an amazing photographer, and she makes all of the costumes and all of the backdrops and everything, and does all of the makeup and everything in this book. And so we actually love to change out each page and kind of display something a little bit different every time. This piece actually, it was one of the first big pieces of furniture that my husband and I purchased when we got married. And we still always try to find a space for it. It was made from an old antique ship, I think, is what they had told us. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it was a great story and it sold us on it. And then art is something that you'll see throughout my home. And so the entryway really sets the tone for the rest of the house with art. And so I have some really fun pieces here. I was an exchange student to the Netherlands in high school for a year. And so this piece of art I have had for over 30 years, and it was the goodbye gift from my host mother. She had made it. She was an artist, and so I love having that prominently displayed in my house. It has the Dutch tulips in it. This piece of art is actually really fun. So this was made by one of my followers on Instagram. She's an artist, and actually she creates faux pastries and food, and that is what she usually does for bakeries and restaurants. And she asked if she could create something for me, and I had asked if maybe she could do some donuts or something that I could display on the wall instead of displaying in like a case. And so this is a super fun piece of art that I just love. It's fun and it's quirky and eclectic, and I think that it really kind of just sets the tone for our house in our entryway. This portrait was actually found at a yard sale. It was a yard sale of a vintage dealer, so I got so lucky. I was totally drawn by the colors, and I love that she's sitting at the bottom of our stairs. When my kids were younger, I used to say she was keeping an eye on them. And so I just think that she looks like she has a story to tell. And so I love displaying that right here. Another fun thing is this chandelier is amazing. It's about 100 pounds. It's marble, but I found it in somebody's attic. So my husband and I had gone to a moving sale for another item that I had seen, and I asked the owner if she had anything else that we could maybe look at, and she said, well, I have some lights in the attic if you want to go look. And so we climbed into the attic, and this light was here, and I could not get it out of that house fast enough. I absolutely love it. I did not know where it was going to go when we got it, but I just knew that it was so special that, and now it tells such a fun story. We actually had to have our ceiling reinforced in order to have it installed. So I absolutely love this light fixture, and I think that it is fun, and it sets the tone for a couple other details that I will share throughout the house. One of the things that I love about this house is that the architectural details, there were some that were already here and some that were not. We got really lucky with our amazing arched doorways, and so I love kind of having that highlighted. And we also were lucky that we have a multi-piece crown molding that goes all the way around. And it already had all of this wainscoting in here. We just had to add in the high gloss paint, and we layered in here. This room is layered in the whites on the walls, and it's the same color white as it is on the wall and the trim. And actually, I have these two pieces that flank either side of my door. And these were purchased individually, but I had them both lacquered the same color as the walls, just because I thought it would be fun. They don't match, but they do match. They go together. Both were found in like vintage stores, kind of just tucked away. And so I got really lucky on finding both of them, and that the size kind of fits and flanks the doorway. I also have lots of different things just layered in. So for example, these are ornaments that somebody had given me, and I just think that they're so stunning that I don't just take them out for the holidays. I leave them out and display them year round, because they have everything that I love, which is color, texture, and also sparkle. And so those are amazing. And then we just have lots of things that are kind of layered throughout the home. And so I love interior design books. I always have, even when I was more focused on the fashion industry. And so I always try to keep those books displayed. This was actually found for free. Somebody had posted it on Facebook Marketplace for free, saying that it needed to be refinished. They had started sanding it down, I guess. And I picked it up and kept it the way that it was. I actually love that it's slightly unfinished. I wrapped some fabric around the cushion on it, but I just think that finding things like that is just so much fun. And of course, adding in different pillows and textures and everything. I know that everyone has these pillows right now, but if I did have a mantra, I would say that this is one of them, which it says the best things in life are free and the second best are very expensive. And I think that that probably sums up a lot of the things that are in my house. There's a lot of high and low going on in this house. You will see that I do have some like different animal heads. So this crane came from a company in Raleigh. And so Furbish Studio is actually based out of Raleigh. They do this pillow as well, but I got this maybe at least, I don't know, 12 years ago. And I just thought the fact that it has a mohawk and everything was amazing. And then this piece of art here is a photography print that I had seen posted online years and years ago. And the person used to have an Instagram page. I think that they still do, but they were selling these prints. And I just thought that the colors and the orientation of it were awesome. And so I got the print, I was able to have it printed out locally and then had it framed. And so I love having that. I just always feel like bigger is better. So a lot of times people try to go for a smaller scale in a space, especially like an entryway like this. But I actually think that sometimes having pieces that are a little bit oversized actually makes a room feel bigger rather than smaller. And I would say having this large round table right in the center of the room to really kind of center the room. And then also kind of having these oversized Kelly Wearstler lamps. They have a lot of texture, they make a statement, but it also kind of brings the entire room together. Throughout my home as well, you will see we have black windows and doors. So when we bought the house, the outside of the windows, the entire exterior had black windows and doors, but the inside, everything was white. And so one of the first things that we did was we coated all of the walls in a beautiful white, simply white. It's one of my favorites. But we also had all of the inside windows and doors painted in a black. And I just think that it really makes them more interesting. It adds an architectural detail to something that I think is oftentimes forgotten. And it also ties in the exterior to the interior of the house. And so it makes it a little bit more interesting. One of the defining features off of the entryway of the home is this gallery wall of mirrors. And I absolutely love mirrors because they reflect light. And I just think that they're such statement pieces. And so I had collected so many of them, we decided to put them up the stairs here. And so they follow all the way up the stairs, and it's always an amazing conversation piece. The other thing that we have here is we have this dog door. So I have this antelope runner that I had coveted for so long. And so I didn't want to block it off, but we had an older dog a couple years ago and she would get stuck on the stairs. And so we wanted to come up with a solution that she would be safe, but also that we could still enjoy our runner. And so we had this dog door made so that we can easily block off the stairs if we need to, but we can still enjoy the beautiful runner that goes up it. My personal sense of style, I always say, is traditional with a twist. I have a really colorful Southern style, and I try to bring that in on the interiors. We try not to take ourselves too seriously here and just really have fun. I have 2 teenagers that live with us. We have a dog. We really live in our home and we want to enjoy it. And so I think the inside really reflects that. It's comfortable and cozy, but it's also, I think, unexpected from when you walk in the front door to what you might be expecting. It's kind of a color pattern and texture explosion. So here we are in the dining room of my home. It is right off of the entry, so it has a fairly focal place in our home. And again, everyone is hit with a lot of color when they get here. So the art in this particular room has actually all been made by myself, and then also a piece that my kids made when they were younger. And so when we first moved in, we painted everything white just to kind of get started with where we wanted to go with the home. I was also in the last year of my PhD program, and so I didn't have a ton of time to be able to decorate. but I really wanted to be able to fill the walls. And so my kids and I started painting these pieces just so that we would have something to be able to fill the walls. And I had always thought that it would be a little bit temporary, but it has become something that's like a staple in our home. And actually I have lots of people on Instagram that ask if they can purchase the prints to these. So because they're just fun and they make a statement. Everyone always asks me what my thought process was when I picked the colors in them, and I actually didn't have a thought process. Literally, it's kind of my mantra for decorating the home is that I just chose colors, and you see lots of colors that are repeated throughout my home. So this really sets the stage because I think almost every single one of these colors is repeated somewhere else in my home. We were lucky enough that we had all this beautiful wainscoting around the house. But it had a tray ceiling, and I am not a super fan of just a plain tray ceiling. It felt like there wasn't super purposeful. And so I have an amazing trim carpenter, and I had this idea for this kind of star on the ceiling. And I reached out to him and asked if it would be possible. And he said, yeah, he had to really think about how he would do it. And about a year later, he finally got back in touch with me and said he was ready to go ahead and work on the ceiling. And so together we kind of came up with what we want the design to be. And then he just absolutely expertly crafted the ceiling, which has really become like a significant architectural detail in the house. And I just can't even imagine the house without it. We then, once it was finished, we sprayed it with a high gloss white. And I just absolutely love the texture and the geometric shape that it brings to the room. The table is a secondhand find. You'll find that that's actually common throughout my home, is that a lot of things here are secondhand finds. And I just loved the turned legs. It extends, so if we want to be able to entertain in here, we can. But actually, you'll see that it's set up with books because, quite honestly, this table is used more as like a workstation for us, whether it's doing crafts or little projects, than it is for dining. But I am not ready to let go of having a formal dining room. So we just let it be what it is and absolutely adore it. I did pair these, Pantone style chairs with this table. I thought that it was just a fun, super modern contrast to this much more traditional style table, and it just felt right. The other thing that people always ask with these chairs, or when they come and they visit our house, is they're so comfortable. These chairs are the most comfortable chairs ever. I layered them a little bit just so that we could cozy it up a little bit. But I absolutely adore them. We also have our coffee station here. This is a traditional bar cart. We actually transformed it into a coffee cart. And so this is where we get our coffee from every morning. My kids also love to be able to do drinks and other things where they put their flavorings in it. But, a bar cart didn't necessarily work for us, but a coffee and tea and hot chocolate cart absolutely does. We live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And for anyone that doesn't know, the university here, which is University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the mascot is a ram. And so I love to add touches of Carolina blue, but also rams throughout my house, just as an ode to our hometown. And so this wall shelf was something that I found in a secondhand store. And I just love that we kind of have that touch of Carolina right in the dining room. And then this piece of art is actually a piece that my kids did when they were really little. They had these markers that had paint dots, and they just did whatever colors and everything that they wanted. And so I had kept it and framed it. And I actually framed it more as a placeholder years ago. And now I just can't imagine replacing it. And so I absolutely love that we have that. Plates are another thing that I just love hanging on a wall. And you'll see that throughout my house a bit. These plates I thought were just the most beautiful colors and shades of purple and pink. And so these kind of flank this wall. It's a little bit unexpected. This is the traditional with a twist, because a plate wall in the South is super traditional. And the twist is in the colors and maybe a little bit of the orientation that we have. I also have the hot pink gradient rug that's in here, which is super fun. I'm lucky enough to work with a rug brand, and so we do get lots of fun rugs coming in and out of our house. And this one I just love. I love the color. My favorite color is pink, and so to be able to have it in our dining room is amazing. It does cast a little bit of a pink glow throughout the room, which makes it super fun. And then these chairs, I found them in a store in Charlotte, North Carolina, and just fell in love with the color and the clean lines of them. And these chairs have moved throughout my house in multiple different rooms. I love moving furniture around. And so these ones have found a place in multiple rooms. The color just works. I don't know if you've heard of the unexpected red theory. It was going around social media for a while, but it says that every room should have a pop of red in it. And so this is kind of my pop of red in this room that's kind of showing. And then I have these amazing needlepoint pillows. I have one on each chair. These were found at a local estate sale for an organist who recently retired. I think he was fairly well known. He recently retired and moved into an assisted living facility. And so he had an amazing assortment of things. So I went to his estate sale recently and found those. And again, I just love the pattern, the texture. I love that they don't both match, but they coordinate with each other, but they're not exact. And then these pieces of art, again, were something that I had done years and years ago. I was trying to fill the walls in my home. At that time, I was finishing up my PhD in textiles, and they had this denim-y color. And so I just loved kind of having that denim and blue color in those paintings. They're both a little bit different. I let the paint run and drip and just really had a lot of fun with it. This piece has been with my husband and I for many years, and it's actually a TV cabinet. So one thing that people may or may not realize about North Carolina is that we have furniture market here. And so there's lots of furniture companies that are in North Carolina. Because Furniture Market is hosted about 45 minutes from here, we also get access to lots of amazing pieces that are samples from different companies. And this piece was actually a sample. It was, it's intended to be a TV cabinet, and we actually turned it into a bar cabinet because, again, your house has to work for you. And so we just decided that this is what was more functional for us. When it got delivered, we had totally underestimated the size of it, and it would not fit through our doorway. So it sat in our garage for a couple of months until we could have someone come and actually widen the door of the room that it was going into so that we could actually get it in there, because at that point we were very committed to making it work. So because it felt like an investment for us at that point, and it's just such a special piece. I've never seen anything like it. Now I would love to show you our sweet little powder room that is right here off of our main entry. And this powder room, actually, when we bought the house, was double the size. And it just felt too big for the needs for our family. And it also took away valuable space for what we needed to be able to use in the kitchen. And so we cut the size down a bit, but we still wanted to really make a statement. And so this wallpaper is an Ellie Cashman wallpaper. And I was drawn to the pattern and the design and kind of how bold and romantic it is, but also because I mentioned that I was an exchange student in the Netherlands, and this wallpaper is by an American who lives in the Netherlands. And so she hand paints everything, and then it all gets printed onto the wallpapers. And so I just think it's stunning. It has so many fun little details in it. There's little tiny bugs, and the more you look at it, the more you see some of the special details. We put in a really small open sink in here, and my husband and I hand drew the template for the backsplash to make sure that we got the exact shape that we wanted, and our fabricators then copied that shape exactly, and we just absolutely love it. The lucite legs, lucite makes a statement in our repeated statement in our house in multiple ways, and so I love that this is open and airy, but it's modern, but it's also traditional at the same time. We keep it fairly simple in here. I never want to cover up the wallpaper. This mirror was actually found at a local vintage store, and I was looking for something that was different. I had gone in and I just asked them if they had anything else, and it turns out that they actually had an entire stock of mirrors in the back room, and so they let me sift through them. I found this one. I absolutely fell in love with it, and it's perfect in here. It's feminine, but it also is striking, and I can never get enough mirrors. And then one of the most fun pieces in here, so again, I mentioned like you'll see colors repeated throughout my home, and this is one of those colors that is repeated throughout my home. This piece of art was found at a local store that was closing, and they had a really amazing selection of old and new items. This was one of their older items. This is from 1964. I fell in love with it because I just loved the portrait of this woman. I loved the expression on her face and her earrings and her clothes and the color. But the most fun part of it is that after I purchased it, when I turned it around, it had the name of the woman is Genevieve. And the person that introduced my husband and I is named Genevieve. And so this piece of art just felt like it was totally meant to be. And so I love having her hung in this room. I think that her colors really bring out the colors in the wallpaper. The other thing that we did that I always encourage people is to use pocket doors. Like, there's such an amazing way to save space when you don't have a lot of space. And so we added pocket doors to this powder room, and it just adds so much functionality because as much as I want a house to be beautiful, it also has to be functional. My design and color mantra is more is more. I just absolutely love adding layers. I also think that that a home needs to reflect the people that live in it. And so it's really important to me that the home reflects our color and our sense of fun and just kind of not taking ourselves too seriously. And so I always say, if I like it, then it's going to be in my home. It might not be for everyone. So my style is a maximalist style that is curated and edited. And also everything has a sense of purpose. As I've gotten older, I really try to make sure that the things in my home are things that I love, and I edit things out and I move things out just to make sure that everything reflects that. My kids actually always laugh and make fun of me a little bit because I'm always walking through the house carrying something, and they're always wondering if it's something that's coming or something that's going, because I just love moving things around the house and also moving things out if it's not working for us anymore, and bringing something in if I find something and it just is amazing and I want to add it to our home. So the best compliment that somebody can give me about my home is that even if they've been here multiple times, they still feel like there's always something to see or something that they haven't noticed before. And they're just so interested in seeing everything. And I think that is kind of exciting because I never want someone's eyes to rest in just one space. And I also think that homes should tell a story and have a lot to look at and not just be kind of stale. And so people always say that. The other thing that people say is that it's just not what they expected when they walk in the front door because of the neighborhood that we live in and kind of just, I think, what they're expecting in terms of like a traditional Southern exterior, and then they walk in and it has that twist. And now I'm going to show you the living room of our home. And this is really kind of the heart of the home. It's one of the central rooms in this house. And it did not look anything like this when we purchased the home 10 years ago. It used to have really short built-ins here that were also not symmetrical to one another. And so we took those built-ins out and we replaced them and brought them all the way up to the ceiling, which is one of my favorite tips to do with cabinetry, whether it's built-ins or kitchen cabinets, is to always bring the cabinetry up to the ceiling. We added this really neat stair step detail to it. And I had asked the trim carpenter to also create this little lip right here. It adds some texture, but it also made it so that I could go in and gold leaf the edges of this just to show off the architectural details a little bit. We actually added mirror to the back of the built-ins because the mirror helps reflect light. It helps it make the room and kind of this downstairs space feel really big, and we absolutely just adore it. So the built-ins are painted with this amazing blue color. I knew that I wanted to do some shade of blue, and when I saw this color from Farrow & Ball, I knew that we wanted to paint it this color. And so it's just really fun. It's a little bit unexpected. It's a total pop of color for this space. And then I have the shelves just filled with all sorts of different collected items. These lamps are actually fairly new to me. I got them at a local estate sale. I had mentioned the needlepoint pillows from the dining room, and these were from that same estate sale. They're super old. I think they actually had them made from a candlestick into a lamp. The thread on them, I'm always drawn to like the textiles of things based on my background, but it's real gold thread. And so they just felt so special. Again, it has this pop of like reddish pink that I have throughout my home. And I just absolutely adore these. I think they're special and unique and just kind of everything that I want for my home. I could not believe that they were still there when I went there. One of the things that is not super obvious when you walk into the room is that the walls in this room actually have a cream grass cloth on them. The grass cloth is the same color as the white on the rest of the walls in my house. And I just felt like we needed to cozy up the space a little bit. We have really tall ceilings in here. They have beautiful coffered details, but I wanted the room to feel like it hugs you a little bit when you walk in, and the grass cloth really was able to warm it up. When we did our built-ins, we also had to redo the mantle. While we were doing it, we had a super traditional mantle. The fireplace actually was a gas fireplace, but it didn't work. And so I was thrilled that it was broken because it gave us an opportunity and a reason to have to replace it. And we decided to replace it with all marble. I have an amazing fabricator who was able to help me come up with something that was modern yet classic. And so we came up with this design. We were able to make a really nice big gas fireplace that obviously our dog loves to sit in front of, and actually our whole family just loves this season where we can turn the fireplace on. But this mantle is just kind of beautiful and elegant, and also really adds a modern touch. This room, obviously one of the most striking things is this artwork. This is by Nashville artist Gina Julian, and it's an op art piece. And when I saw it, I immediately thought that it could work with the blue of the built-ins because I hadn't quite figured out what I was going to put with our blue built-ins. And I saw this piece of art, and it just has every color that is in our house, and it's just beautiful and big, and I absolutely adore being able to feature this in kind of in such a focal place in our house. Pretty much everything in this room is actually a second-hand find except for this couch. The couch is the only thing that I actually purchased new in here. So these chairs I found not too long ago on Facebook Marketplace. It has this amazing Brunswick and Phil's fabric on it. I loved the tans, and again, that pop of that like pinks and reds that are in there. They are super duper comfortable. We have this table here is from a vintage dealer in Charlotte, and it has the malachite on it. It's a green, green painted malachite, and I just love using glass tables in spaces because I feel like it allows it to ground this space, but it also opens it up. And so I've just layered it with all sorts of fun things. I don't tend to like have lots of collections, but one collection that I have is I just, for some reason, absolutely love marble eggs. And so every time I find them, I kind of add them little places. And so this is a really fun table. Again, this table moves all over my house. I have always wanted a draped wicker table, and this particular one I found at an antique shop about an hour away, and I was thrilled when I saw it. It was totally yellowed in color, but it reminds me of draped fabric. And obviously with my background, it just felt perfect. And when I bought it, the people said that it had been there for years and had just not moved. So they had kind of turned it into like a display piece because it had just been there for so long. So I feel really lucky that I was able to get this piece. This lamp was bought from another secondhand shop local to here, and it actually was a ginger jar that they had made into a lamp, is what the owner had told me. And so I totally adored the green color, and I just thought that it was so special, and the scale of it is so large that it really fits well in this space with these tall ceilings. Now this piece of art is another piece that my daughter and I made together about 9 years ago. So she was pretty young at the time. She's 16 now, and so she was about 7 years old or so. I thought it would be really fun to have this like mother-daughter project that we did. So we set it up on the back porch, and I thought we'd make all these flowers, and about 2 flowers into it, she was done with the project. And so I was then committed. I wasn't really sure what we were going to do. I decided to put them up on this big canvas, and I love it. I love that it's tonal. I had thought I might paint the flowers at some point. I just love that it adds texture. It's a fun memory of something that she and I had done together, because then she would pop in and out to check on me to see how it was coming along. But again, this was all in my attempt just to be able to fill the walls in my house. And so I am never going to shy away from actually just kind of being hands-on and kind of solving a problem. If I don't have something immediately that I know I can fill the space, I just go ahead and try to make it. Green is another color that often comes into my space, and I belong to a Facebook group that is a thrift club Facebook group, and members will post things on there. And this rug was posted by a member on there, and she lived in DC, which DC is about 6 hours from Chapel Hill. But as soon as I saw the colors and the size, I knew that we had to have it. And so she was kind enough to hold it for me, and we drove up to DC the next day, 6 hours up, 6 hours back, to be able to get this beautiful rug. It has green in it, which green rugs are actually a little bit tricky to find, but the fact that it had the greens and pinks and blues and everything, I just absolutely love it. If someone was to ask me if I love working on client homes or my home more, those are both totally different. I love working on my own home. I get so much joy and energy, and it fills my cup to do things around my house, to change things up, to add pattern, to bring in old and new, to bring in different colors and textures. And I actually love sharing the process of being able to do that with others, but it doesn't have to be in a client's home. It's really just kind of sharing it more to the masses, whether it's on Instagram or whatever it might be. I love my home. I love creating a home that is an amazing place for my family. But I will say it can sometimes be a little more challenging working on your own home, kind of pulling the trigger. I can either make a decision really quickly, or I know all of the options that are out there, and so then I'm trying to figure it out, or I've used something that I love in a client's home before, so I don't want to reuse it in my own home. So that can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge, is really finding things that I think are just totally unique and exciting. And usually I find pieces and then find a place for them in my home. I don't necessarily go out searching for a specific item. A lot of the items that come into my home are because I've just come across them, and then I find a place for them in my home. Now I want to welcome you into our breakfast nook. And so one of the things that I always find about kitchens and breakfast nooks is everyone always finds their way here. And so instead of fighting that, I just wanted to embrace it. There used to be a built-in banquette that was made out of just wood when we bought the house, and it didn't quite fill up this wall and came a little bit in front of this window here. And so I loved the functionality of the banquette, but I wanted something a little bit cozier. So when we redid our kitchen, we had a local restaurant banquette maker make this banquette for this space, because I just wanted to create somewhere where people could sit and relax and talk to whoever's in the kitchen and just kind of hang out here if that's what they want to do. We centered everything with this big, huge mirror, because mirrors, again, they reflect light. It makes spaces feel bigger. And we had this mirror, and it just perfectly fit on this wall above here. So I feel like it makes this nook area really bright. These are just clear Lucite Chiavari chairs that you often see at like rental companies, and I just loved them, so we use them for our regular day-to-day. They're perfect with kids and families because they wipe up easily, but also visually they're not too heavy in this corner. And that's one of the things that I love about this vintage table as well, is that it's big, but it doesn't weigh the space down. So it allows us to see the rug. It allows this whole space to really feel open. And then it balances this really oversized pendant that we have hanging up here. So now let's take a walk into my kitchen. So the kitchen was one of the first major projects that we did in this house. When we moved into this house, I had a year left of my PhD program, and my husband said that as soon as I finished, then we could redo the kitchen. The kitchen before used to be really closed off, and so actually there was a half wall that came across here, though there was just one small window here. And there was this really big corner pantry that took up this entire corner. And then this entry into the hallway was 2 doors. And so we really had to reimagine this space and how we wanted it to function, and really wanted to open it up for the rest of the house. And so we took everything out. The first thing we did was try to figure out how to make this wall symmetrical right here, with really getting some more light into here. We took out the big corner pantry, and we were able to add in everything. One of the things that people always ask us is, where's our fridge and freezer? And so we have a full freezer on this side, and then our fridge is on this side, and we have it integrated in so that it just looks like the cabinetry. The island is something that we use more than anything else in the kitchen, and we knew that we wanted a really big space. And so we decided just to embrace the size of the island and really just maximize it. I'd say if design style wise, it would probably be called a galley kitchen. It's a little bit bigger than a galley kitchen, but it's very similar in terms of the shape and everything, because we don't have actual seating in our kitchen. This is really just like a super functional kitchen. So I had wanted to do a more modern touch, and so we did the waterfall island with our beautiful stone. And then we also made sure that with the stone, I wanted to have a full backsplash of the same stone. And so our fabricator, again, worked with us, was able to work with us on getting all of the details around the window trim, and then also how the counter goes right into the windows here. And I think that it just creates a really elegant, kind of flow throughout. And the veining on this marble is just so beautiful. So it just has a lot of movement to it. We have an amazing trim carpenter, and he was able to add this design detail here. If you can see it, it's a slightly raised pyramid. So my husband's family is French, and his parents live in France. And in Paris, one of the things that you always see are beautiful doors. And throughout Paris, there's oftentimes doors with these raised diamond panels. And so we wanted to kind of incorporate that part of our heritage into the kitchen a little bit. And so he added those diamond details throughout these hutch cabinets. And the counters all continue on underneath so that we have kind of full use of those cabinets inside. He also was able to create this beautiful wooden hood for us, and he said this was actually the most complicated thing he's ever built for us. I don't understand exactly why, but it has like triple angles in it. He said it was more complicated actually than our ceiling in our dining room. And it's because this is all made out of wood. It's not plaster. And so he did all of the angles in wood, and then we added a little bit of a brass detail there. My husband loves to cook. I am not really much of a cook, but I do love a beautiful kitchen. And so we did purchase, this more commercial range for this space. But one of the things that I always tell people, like we got this, it was a floor model as they were transitioning out styles. So I always tell people with purchases like this, make sure that you look at all of your options because we got lucky on the timing to be able to get one of the floor models. And then everything in the kitchen is super functional. So we have our dishwasher in the island and it's hidden with a panel. We have a drink fridge in here. We also have our outlets. So there's always an aesthetic component to our house, but there's always a functional part as well. And that is super duper important to me. We absolutely love having a pot filler here, which just makes it so that we don't have to worry about spilling and everything. But this was a detail that we really wanted to add in this kitchen, and we absolutely love having that here. And then something unexpected, I think, that people always comment on is the wallpaper in the kitchen. And so normally I'm not one to do like just one accent wall, but once our kitchen was finished, we wanted the white, we have a mushroom color on the island, and we had all of the movement from the marble, but something about it just felt sterile. And so we wanted to be able to kind of just add a little bit of a pause for people when they looked at it, like, hold it. That was not expected. And this is kind of our unexpected moment here, is adding this clouds mural wallpaper. Two of my favorite pieces of art that we own are these pet portraits. Now, these are by a Canadian artist, Kari Soreo. And you can't tell from just looking at it, but these are actually encaustic. And encaustic is when someone paints with liquid wax. And so they melt the wax down and then they actually paint with the wax. And she does amazing animal portraits with the antlers and the other creatures around. And so I had asked if she would create pet portraits, and she always puts little outfits on them. So we worked together to get the colors just right. This is our older dog that's since passed, and then this is our puppy Ruby. She added in the gold detailing, and I just think these are just exquisite. They are so treasured for us. And so we decided to make them front and center in the kitchen, because the kitchen is the heart of the home. And so we just adore our dogs. So these are super important and treasured for us. Another thing that I'd be remiss not to talk about is the lighting in here. And so this is our third home that we've owned. And in every home that we've owned, we have a Capiz chandelier. It started out as just something that we had in our first home. We fell in love with the light, and so we had a Capiz chandelier there. Then in our second home, we also put a Capiz chandelier in that home. And then when it came time to design this kitchen, I saw these Capiz chandeliers and decided that, you know, we needed to have another Capiz light moment. And so these are super oversized. They're definitely not your traditional kitchen light or kitchen pendant, but I just love them. Sometimes when the windows open, they make a little bit of a noise, and they just add so much just texture, and they're just another conversation piece that we have, but they're also super functional because they have like 6 bulbs in them. So it adds the light that we need, but it also, this like the jewelry for our kitchen. And I always think of lighting as kind of the jewelry for a space, and this is definitely creates that moment in the kitchen. Now we are going to walk down the main hallway of my home. This leads to our living room and our entry on this side, but it also leads directly into the primary bedroom. And so the one thing with hallways is that I always tell people not to forget to decorate the hallway. And so we have this really fun graphic wallpaper here. It's brown and cream, so it's graphic, but it also has kind of more neutral colors. And then this artwork was another set of art that my kids and I made together. So I had seen these beautiful framed agate pieces of art years and years ago, and they were out of my price point. And so my kids and I went to the local science museum. We went into the gift shop and bought the agate slices, and then got these frames and just created our own art out of them. I have them lacquered in this deep red color, and then I pretty much will put a tassel on anything that's not standing or moving, and even if something is moving. And so we added the fun tassels to them too. So it just creates a little bit of movement, a little bit of excitement, something interesting to look at. I kind of think of it like as an art gallery. It's a space that we have to go down and back multiple times a day, so we might as well make it fun and exciting. And then the lighting in here, we have this beautiful light here. Again, I've talked about like having nostalgia to other homes that we've owned. And this light, we actually had a larger version of this chandelier in the last home that we owned. And so I put a smaller one here. And then we also have these really fun, just more modern Kelly Weirstler sconces that I had gotten on a like end of season closing sale from a local home decor company. And I was so excited to get those because they add so much fun and just kind of a modern touch to the hallway. My biggest tip for people when they're trying to find their personal sense of style is if you have an immediate reaction to something, and it just lights you up inside, then I think that you should just embrace it and run with it. I think a lot of times people think too much about the rules of the home and colors that they think should go together and patterns that they think should go together. And I just think all of that needs to go out the window. And I think that it's just amazing for people to really be able to embrace color and pattern and texture if that's what really lights them up inside. And if it's not, then that's also okay. And so I always say, don't overthink it. And most things in a home can be changed really easily. And so just go for it, give it a try. And I think that usually people are happy that they do. And don't worry about what other people think. Because everyone is going to have their own opinion about a home or what it's supposed to feel like, but the only person that it matters to is you and the people that are living in it. My favorite thing about my home are the people that are in it, but I love that we have created an environment that is bold yet cozy. It has a lot of different features. It is warm and welcoming, but yet just maybe a touch formal in some places. I just love the location. We love living in Chapel Hill, which is a college town. And yeah, we just love the layout of our home. We really love everything about it. We could not be happier here. And now I am pleased to show you our primary bedroom. One of the things that drew us to this house was the fact that we have a first floor primary bedroom, which is not super common in our neighborhood, but it was something that we really were drawn to because it just makes it easier as you're getting older or if you have older relatives that are visiting or anything. And so we absolutely love this space. It's beautiful and big. My husband added all of the wall molding onto the walls because it just felt a little bit too kind of typical for us. So he built all these frames and we added the detail there. So it just adds a little bit of a subtle texture to it. And then so a lot of times people try to use like really soft and soothing colors in a bedroom. And I've tried doing that and it just does not necessarily suit my taste. So when I had found these amazing vervain, this amazing vervain fabric, I fell in love with it. Again, it repeats colors that you see throughout my home, and having a first floor primary bedroom, I thought that that was just really important. And so I had these draperies made in this amazing fabric and then use those colors to pull out throughout the home. The ceiling is again a tray ceiling, which we have the mold, the crown was added by the previous owners on the inside of it. And then we painted the inside of the ceiling. It's palladium blue by Benjamin Moore. And that color was actually the color of built-ins in our last house. Again, I just love to have these kind of nostalgic little touches throughout. The rug was a Facebook Marketplace find. This sofa is actually an Emerson Bentley, and it's another furniture market sample that I found at a local vintage store. And the fabric is just amazing. It goes perfectly with the palladium blue. One of my favorite features of it is these cracked lucite legs, because I just think that it takes this super traditional fabric and shape, and then it just shakes it up a little bit, because again, we're all about the traditional with a twist. The artwork in here is really special. So this is an Elizabeth Foster, who I think is also out of Nashville. And this was the gift from my husband and kids to me when I finished my PhD. And I had seen it. It's just whimsical. And I absolutely had fallen in love with it when I had seen it, and they surprised me with it. My daughter loves elephants and always has. And so I just love everything about it. I could look at it and it just makes me feel happy when I look at it. So we decided to put this front and center in our bedroom. And it also reminds me of surviving the PhD program. The other art that I have in this room, so this is an English artist, Jack Verhaeghe. And again, it's that juxtaposition between different styles. So this is a Mylar balloon that he hand draws. I love hyper-realistic art, and so this was a hyper-realistic print of a piece that he had made, and I just fell in love with the colors and just kind of the the nuance of it, and then the fact that it's a heart. I thought it was perfect for our primary bedroom. And then I have this other piece of art up here, which I decided to play with scale a little bit because usually everything is so oversized. And when I got this piece, it just felt at home up there with everything else that's going on. The scale is a little bit smaller purposefully because I still think that it makes such a statement up there. You have the deep red that I have throughout. We have plenty of closet space, so I didn't need more space for storage in our master bedroom. So we decided to get console tables and use those as our side tables instead. They're a wrapped grass cloth. They actually used to be more of a neutral color, but they were turning a little bit in color and yellowing, and so we decided to go ahead and lacquer them just in this fun deep red that you see throughout our home. The only thing in this room that we purchased new, we had originally purchased the console tables new and our bed new. Everything else was a secondhand find. Including the lamps, and actually these wall sconces came from the same attic as my entryway chandelier. And so as soon as I saw them, I had no idea where I was going to put them, but I was so excited about it. So talking about kind of the colorful Southern style, it's not really a Southern home if you don't have a monogram. And so we have our monogram in here. This bedding is all from Biscuit, which is based out of Texas. And I love that it has the faux bois color on it. That's the palladium blue color, but then adding in kind of the more traditional shams and everything. So we have just a lot of kind of color, texture, and pattern, just like you see in the rest of the house. I did the same with our master bedroom. So now I'm going to show you the most used and most functional room in our house. And this is a actual combo room for us. It's a mud room, it's a laundry room, and it's a butler's pantry. Now this space did not exist when we bought the house. There used to be a hallway here and here with a door to our garage. There was no way to get to our driveway without going through the garage. And so we really wanted to create this space to be super functional for our family. So one of the things we did, we added a friend door because we are in the South, and that way we have this side door that leads into our driveway that people can kind of come and go without having to go through our front door. And then we have all of these cubbies here, which we have cubbies for storage for my kids, but then we also have a laundry chute, which is a really fun detail. So our kids just throw their clothes from the second floor down the laundry chute, and it comes into this cabinet, and then we can do the laundry. So entertaining is one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we were thinking about. And also, again, it goes back to like the aesthetics and the functionality of the home. And so we do have this serving window that we put in, and it has a counter here. And so when people are over, and even actually just for us during the summer and when we want to eat out there, we can just open and close this window without having to necessarily have the doors open. And then as you walk down this way towards the laundry section of the room, we ended up putting retractable doors onto our laundry. And again, because I love art, I have art hidden in every space, including in my laundry cabinet. And so this is super functional for us. We can open it when we need to, but we can also close it when we don't. And then coming down here, the dog just went out of the dog door. That was something that we weren't sure if we should add it, and we're so happy that we did because she can kind of come in and sun herself and go in and out as she pleases. And then we also built in this dog station for her as well. And so we have you know, her crate area, which she likes to just go in sometimes when she just wants to kind of snuggle up herself. And then we also have her dog feeding station. And one of the things that we did is we added in a or a deck mounted faucet so that we didn't have to worry about spilling and the kids, you know, spilling or anything. We could just fill up the faucet, the water bowl from the faucet right here, and be able to really have that functionality. This is kind of a butler's pantry area. It can be a laundry sink if we need it to be, but we have our nugget ice maker here. We have a beverage fridge here, and then we have just kind of all of this storage here. We decided, because I had that black marble chandelier in the front, I wanted to bring a black stone somewhere else into the house. And so when we were choosing a stone for here, instead of going with a white marble, we decided to go with a black natural stone to really tie that in. And again, my husband and I templated out the exact shape that we wanted for this. We had an oval window in our last house and just thought that it was special. And so when we were adding on this space, we decided to put an oval window in instead of kind of your more traditional rectangular window. And I just love how it frames the woods behind our house and creates a little bit more of an architectural detail. I would be remiss not to mention our plate wall that we have. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted for art in here, I kind of just let things happen. And I had started collecting a lot of plates and was trying to decide where I had them. And for a long time, I had plates just flanking either side of the window, and they looked amazing. But then I was collecting plates when I would see them either on clearance or at thrift shops or vintage shops. And so I was trying to figure out what to do with them, and just collected enough that I finally was able to kind of hang them all and fill this wall. And it just creates such a fun entry for us. This is our garage. And so the first thing we see when we walk in is this just super fun plate wall that each plate has kind of a little bit of a story, or kind of just is just fun to look at. And I feel like you can look at it so many times and still notice something that you necessarily haven't noticed before. So I just think it's such a fun way to add texture to walls, and people tend to just have a lot of plates hanging around. So it's just a way to kind of just do something fun and different with them. And this is a very Southern thing, I feel like, is to have a plate wall. So this is just a little bit of a different take on that traditional plate wall. So the ceiling is, again, because we're in Chapel Hill and the Tar Heels is Carolina blue, I really wanted to add some blue into this space. And so this is hydrangea draped wallpaper. And so hydrangeas too are super Southern. And I really loved that it was linear, but it had a lot of texture and pattern to it. And so I thought that it would really draw you in and out of this room, whichever direction you're going. And so we added that there, and then we painted the cabinets a custom color to match that wallpaper. And this chandelier is interesting because it's the exact same style as the one in the front. And when I had found that one in somebody's attic, everyone said that lightning wouldn't strike twice. But I was trying to desperately find something similar to that, and I came across this. And the manufacturer had, for some reason, clearanced it down to an unreal price. And so I ordered it, not knowing if it was actually going to show up. I thought the order was actually going to get canceled. And it delivered. It was a mistake on the website, but they honored that mistake. And so I was able to get it. It's the white marble version. So I have the black in the front entryway, and then I have the white back here. And I just absolutely love the fact that we were able to get two of the same lights, but we got them very different ways. But each has their own story. And again, You know, with the Ram and living in Chapel Hill and kind of just embracing our hometown, which is a college town, we have our paper mache Ram that greets people as they come and go throughout the house. Home to me means joy, it means love, it means comfort, and it just means being with people that I love and surrounded by things that I love as well. Homeworthy, it's been so fun showing you around my house today, but now it's time to go. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Hillary. Welcome to my home in St. Louis. I can't wait to show you around. Come on inside.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Hillary Muscatello and we are in my home in St. Louis, Missouri. So our home was built in the 90s. It was the last home built in our neighborhood. It is right on the edge of the lake and it is on the edge of a hill as well. And so we have a lot of tiers in our gardening. It's really beautiful and rocks. We moved to this house 3 years ago during COVID and we really were just craving the outside and having some space. My husband wanted a pool. It's very warm where we live. And so we were on the hunt for a house for a while. And this one popped up. It has a lake in the front, a creek in the back, and a pool. And it was perfect for our family. But what I really loved was that I had a lot of space that I could create gardens and we could eventually do some chickens and different things like that. And so that is kind of just how we came upon this house. Our home is a Craftsman-style home, but it is very traditional in the way that it is set up with a formal living and dining room in the front. And so when you walk through the home, it feels very similar to just a traditional American home, I would say. So when people ask me about my style and what it is, I have given it a name and it is called the President's Brother. And what I mean by that is that instead of it being very traditional or very relaxed, it's kind of in the middle. So if you would think about a President's Brother, he would still be classy and able to go to a nice dinner party, but he can be more relaxed because he's not in the limelight. And so that's how I like to think about my home and the way that I've decorated it. We have a lot of texture, and so instead of picking, let's say like a satin, I would pick a linen. Or instead of picking a glossy piece, I would pick a more matte piece. And so just having that style mantra has really helped me figure out how to keep each room cohesive with the rest of the home. So if I had to give it a name, I would probably say rustic traditional with an elevated feel, if that's a thing. Welcome to our foyer. I believe the foyer is one of the most pivotal parts of your home and when you're designing, because it's what greets your guests. It shows what they're going to be expecting throughout the rest of the house. And so I take a lot of time to decorate my foyers and design them and think about what textures and colors that I want in them. So for me, when we bought this house, I was so excited to have this staircase. I always wanted to be able to have a kind of fun themed runner on a staircase to showcase the house when someone walked in. And this runner is so perfect for our home. We had it custom made. It is wool, and even with the kids and the dog, it still has stayed really clean. I was kind of worried about the white getting a little bit too dirty, but it has been great. The herringbone is what keeps it traditional, but then that light, almost like chambray denim color is what keeps it relaxed and feeling comfortable and warm. So then when you go throughout the rest of the home, you'll know that you're going to see blues and you're going to see relaxed fibers and textures and also traditional elements because we use this herringbone. So come over here, I want to show you my foyer table. This was a piece I actually saw a really fun inspiration piece for on Pinterest. And I was like, I need to have a piece like that in my home. We are from New England, and there's a lot of Louvre doors in New England. There's Cape Cod specifically, we vacation there in the summer. And so I wanted to have something that reminded us of that and where our family lives. So I had been on the lookout for a piece that I could customize, and I was having a hard time finding it. And then one day I walked into one of our favorite local consignment stores, and this chest was $50. So I had a local artisan who paints. She's actually painted a lot of pieces in our home. She painted this for me. I got to pick out the color, make sure that it blended with all of the other colors that we have in the home, like a soft blue versus too navy. And she distressed the edges for us. But this has been such a fun piece, and I really feel like it helps draw people in. We always have, well, I always have a candle going. This candle is a cedar candle. It helps create a good, like, warm smell when people walk in. It's very relaxing. And so I always have cedar or bergamot candles on this foyer table. I actually had this painted. This is a great piece I had painted for my husband for our anniversary. And it is a picture of our pond and our dock and everything. So this kind of just sets up the home as well by having this custom piece here. And then I always have humongous branches on, so my friends usually get twigs in their hair as they walk through my house, but they don't seem to mind it. But this is a holly, branches of American holly from a tree in my yard. And so I just feel like it creates a nice warm space. Sometimes we'll put candies on there for our guests, or mint. I like to have mints when a bunch of ladies come over so they don't feel like their breath stinks. So yeah, this is just a fun space, and it needed to be not too deep because I wanted people to, we sometimes have large groups of people. So every other week we have a small group in our home from our church, and there's about 30 to 40 people that come. So I needed to be able to have plenty of space. You usually only need about 3 feet, but we have about 5 feet here. And I wanted to be able to have that much space so that when a full family walks through, they can make their way through without having to shuffle and feel uncomfortable. So that is why we kept this nice and wide. So this American flag, I also have this in our foyer. It's a little bit more, I would say, probably relaxed than the other pieces, but that's okay with me. So this is an antique that I found at an antique store many years ago. It's hung in many different places of our house. And I loved this soft blue that the sun turned the flag, because it actually blends really well with the cabinet color I chose. And then this is that color that's even on the rug and everything. So this was just sun bleached, but it actually really helped to pull in all those colors from the rest of the house. The homeowners before us were builders, and so they had really made this beautiful space and put a lot of fun amenities into it, like steam showers and speakers throughout. It was really great, but it was in their taste, which was more French country and I would say darker tones. And so we have lightened up the whole house. We had the whole house painted. I had a lot of the woodworking that they had done painted. One of the biggest questions I always get asked is, did you paint all of the trim, or are you going to do it? And the answer to that is no, because we really love how this house feels warm and cozy with the wood trim, and it makes it distinctive from other homes. It also feels very woodsy, which is what we really loved. I actually took a lot of inspiration from yachts as I was designing the house and picking out colors and things like that. So you'll see that throughout the house. It's just this warm yacht type feel with the white, crisp whites, but then a lot of the warm tones, and then also gold and things like that. So we didn't have to do a lot of renovations. We did do a good amount in the kitchen, but everything else was mostly just paint. Here we are in my dining room, and I know a lot of people are turning their dining rooms over to playrooms or office spaces, but we use our dining room all the time, and I really love having this space for bigger parties. And even we do special dinners in here all the time with the kids, and it's so fun. We designed this room off of our favorite restaurant in St. Louis. It's named Annie Gunn's, and it's very like American bar type food, beautiful steaks. They have chili and all of those like really warm, hearty foods, but they do it in absolutely amazing ways. Their culinary art is amazing. And so We always love going there. It's our favorite date night. We do date lunches there, my husband and I, on Fridays. And so I designed this room after that restaurant because it's just a really great pastime for us. In that, even though the restaurant is slightly different than the rest of our home, I made sure to pick all of the hues and the colors to reflect the rest of the home and keep it really warm and earthy. The paint is a very dark green from Faro and Ball called Studio Green. And it gives that like warm, earthy vibe. In the restaurant, they have a lot of brick on their walls, and so I did not want to do that because we don't have brick on the rest of the house. So instead I went with like the dark green tones. It still feels very like country club warm, and we kept the wood trim because it is so beautiful and thick in here, creates that just cigar lounge type vibe. And this table has a great story. So the previous owners were downsizing and were selling off some pieces of furniture, and they had this table. It fit well in the space. It actually extends even further, and so we can get a lot of people in this room. And so I bought it from them, but it was covered in like a very red, older type fabric. So I had them redone in this beautiful linen with that chambray stripe, again, that's dictating from the foyer, but they're really plush and soft. And so I know a lot of modern type chairs now are smaller and get that like smaller aesthetic vibe, but I wanted something big and cozy so that when we're sitting in here, we want to stay around the food and not have to move to be comfortable. And so these chairs are extremely soft. And my kids have not gotten them dirty. I don't know how that's even possible. But they are cushioned, and the backs are cushioned too. And we really love them. Your head can even recline on the back. So we have long dinner discussions here with friends about politics and religion and all different things that we really enjoy. And this is a great space to do that in. I got this chandelier. It is a Williams-Sonoma home chandelier that I found, I could not believe it, on Facebook Marketplace one day. I was looking for something else and someone was selling it. They had just downsized. So I got the chandelier from there. This mirror is one of my probably best finds to date. So my husband is almost full-blood Italian. A lot of the things within our home are indicative of Italian style or from Italy, just because I feel like that creates a good story for us. And so I had been studying and looking at Italian gilt mirrors. I thought they were really beautiful, and this was in our previous home. Our previous home was much more traditional, I would say, in the architecture and very grand when you walked in. So I needed a really big, beautiful mirror to make a statement. So I had been researching, trying to figure out what piece would be perfect for our space, and I came across a lot of Italian gilt mirrors. They were they have a lot of intricate woodwork. They have beautiful detailing even in the glass here on the edges. And I loved this top piece up here. It has florals in it and fleur-de-lis, just very feminine, but also stately. And so I was, again, I have an obsession with Facebook Marketplace. I was on Facebook Marketplace looking for something else, and this popped up for $100. I couldn't believe it. I ran on to First Dibs and Cherish to make sure that it was pretty close to what I had been looking at, and the ones on there were about $6,000. So I ran to the woman. I had all the kids in the car. It was the middle of the winter. Ran to her house and picked this up. I actually kind of felt bad. I'm like, do you not realize what you're selling here? But she didn't care. It has the authenticity sticker on the back, and it's from Italy, straight wood, so beautiful. And I got it for $100. Can you believe it? It was just crazy. So this is one of my favorite exciting pieces, and we've had to do a little bit of gluing work to it over time because it is very old. I actually don't know the age of it, but it's old and the wood has gotten brittle. So we have had to do some work to it, but it is so fun. I was kind of worried when we moved to this house that it would be too stately for this room because this room is a little bit more relaxed. But because it's so big and it has a great story, to me, I was like, let's just put it in and we'll see. And now I really love it. It kind of breaks up all of the more comfortableness and gives it just an elevated vibe. So we still feel like we can get dressed and come in here and have a great party. This chest is from a local boutique that we frequent a lot. They have great pieces, and I loved this cutout detailing. It's just a little bit different than the standard furniture that you would find. It kind of reminds me of some French pieces. And so I picked that. I wanted it to be dark to blend with the wall because I wanted the focal point to be the chandelier and dining space versus, and the mirror versus this specifically. So I didn't want the credenza to compete with the mirror or the dining space. So this is the bar cart in our dining room. I serve a lot of drinks from here. We have all of our bar accessories and things like that. And I wanted to be able to create even just a little vignette even within this space. So I found this painting in my uncle's shop. He has a shop in Maine called the Craft Shop, and he sells a lot of antique and vintage pieces in it. And this painting is from a Maine painter. My husband actually had it shipped from Maine to our house for my birthday, which was so sweet because it was too big to get into my suitcase. And so I just love this. It reminds me of home. I vacationed in Maine twice a year for my whole life. It's where my grandmother lives, and obviously my uncle too. And so this was a great piece for me. I like how casual it is versus how formal some of the champagne buckets and other things that we have are. I feel like it creates a great juxtaposition, and I even will decorate it for Christmas and things like that. So this is a very special piece to me. This bar cart I get asked about all the time. I was again on Facebook Marketplace. I feel like I'm going to be a broken record here, but I was on Facebook Marketplace for this, and I was looking for a chair for a specific space. And I went to the home, and the chairs were not good quality, and they weren't right. So I was about to leave, and as I walked out of the home, I saw this bar cart, and I asked the owner, "Are you by any chance selling that?" I was like literally shopping in their house, and they said, "You know what? Yeah, we didn't even list it, but we don't need it." And I said, "I would love to buy it from you." So I can't remember how much I spent on this, $100 maybe. But I love it. I think it's so fun, and it actually blended really well with the table. That was not bought at the same time. This was bought many years before, but it blended great with the table, which was awesome. It has this marble top, and then I accessorized it with this fun little "thank you for not smoking," again, because this is like that American lounge feel. I thought it would be funny. So every time my friends come over and they get a drink, they're like, you know, what is that? I'm like, we're an American bar, but you can't smoke in my house. So yeah, so that's that little piece there. This is one of the gallery walls we have in our home. I love to have, or I need to have, organized wall art and spaces so that I can create messy things, if that makes any sense. Probably not, but a lot of my florals are very wild, and so I need to have organized things on my wall to help with my line of vision. So this gallery wall is very symmetrical. Each print is different. They're all James Audubon prints. They are all antiques. I got from a woman on Instagram. Marie Claire is her name, and she sells lots of really beautiful vintage and antique items. So I got all of these from her and then had them all framed. And you will see throughout the rest of the house that we have a lot of Audubon prints. I think it's very indicative of where we live. I also love that he was an American painter and artist. I love all of the colors that he used, and I used a lot of the inspiration from his colors to pick textiles and things throughout the house because they're all very, they blend so well together. Before I started Tello & Rose, I always knew that I wanted to have my own product line or brand of some sort. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but I knew I wanted something to call my own. And so after college, and actually even during college, I worked in a lot of different types of design studios. So I worked in a home goods design studio. We created pillows and rugs for big brands like Martha Stewart and Macy's. And then I worked in a game design studio, and that was actually my most fun job. We were creating names for games and I got to play with the Risk designer. I got to play do twist, like with a twister designer. And so that was my most fun job, I would say, because those people were so unbelievably creative, and we were really creating fun things for families. So that was really helped me to see really down deep into the design process, how far it goes. We would have brainstorming sessions about names for characters and what color should we put on this game. And it really helped me to understand that even just something as simple as a game is what is creating a memory. And so I learned so much from that to be able to bring into my own brand. After I worked there, then I worked in the fashion industry, and I did a lot of social media shoots for different brands within. I worked for TJX, so TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, and I worked on all of their social media platforms. And that helped me to see what really goes into shooting for social media. There's so much more that people don't have any idea about, and it really helped me to finesse my own just skills in how to frame out a pillow, or how to capture the lighting of something. So that really helped me learn a lot about that. And all of those experiences are what helped me create my own brand, picking from each one of them to see really what I wanted to do on my own. So Tello and Rose is mostly inspired by the women in my life. I love creating a women's magazine of sorts with the content that I create. I know that in social media, you're really supposed to niche down into what you do, but I am a full, well-rounded woman that loves to do a lot of things, and I know that my readers do also. And so I like to try to keep all of our content really well-rounded, and I get inspiration from a lot of different cookbooks. I look at old magazines. I have a text string of about 17 people that are from all over the place. My grandmother, my mom, some friends, people that I've worked with before, and we're all on this string together. And I'll ask them, what are you guys doing this week? And can I share that for content? It might be organizing a bathroom, or my mom made a really great recipe and she shared that. So then I'll try to create my own version of it. And so they really give me a lot of just pertinent, helpful content. I also have friends who share ideas with me all the time. Okay, we are just off of the kitchen in the mudroom. This space was a complete redo. It was pink peeling hydrangea wallpaper, and I don't even know what floor we had in here. And so this was the first space we did anything with in the home. It is the bones of the home. If you have lots of children, you understand why I have all of these coat racks, hooks, and I got a lot of inspiration from Gil Schaefer. I love his architecture and design. And so I modeled this space almost exactly after another mudroom that he has done. This is actually a panel. It is not tongue and groove that I found that looks just like tongue and groove. It is the wider plank. And so we had these placed on the walls. This is just a custom shelf that we had made with these really sturdy hooks, because I have a 6-year-old who might potentially hang on his backpack. And so these are all helpful in the summertime. They carry all of our pool towels. In the wintertime, they've got baskets for our mittens and also all of my children's backpacks and things like that. So this is very clean today. I'm actually really enjoying this. Usually it's littered with lots of school papers and all of our fun stuff. So this is really, I would say, like the room we're in probably the most and doing things in. I have all of my laundry hidden underneath this beautiful curtain that I made. I was actually having a hard time choosing fabric for here because I wanted something that was like timeless, that I wouldn't feel like I needed to redo. So at first I was going to do a floral, but then I thought, okay, if that gets dirty, that's going to be frustrating. And so I picked this as really thick upholstery fabric, and it lays really well. It never gets wrinkled, and it's got all of our laundry under there. Maybe I could show you. Okay, there it is. I don't know if you want to see that. This is another painting from my uncle's store in Maine. This is an original. I don't know the history behind this one, but it looks just like the Adirondacks that we have frequented. My husband and I have been to upstate New York at Lake Placid. It looks just like that, or a Maine cabin. I also loved this little American flag that they had painted in there, and the dogs and white Adirondack chairs. We have those out in our front yard too. So this painting just really resonated with me. I loved the frame because it's very similar to the woodwork that we have in our home, so it tied into that. I had this butcher block custom made. It is matte finish. I do a lot of floral arranging, as you could tell, and so I do a lot of it in here. I didn't want anything that could not get dirty and wet, so this is fully protected butcher block, and we fold our laundry on this. Like, this is just a workhorse for us. I've got all of our laundry stuff up here, and then the laundries are stacked right on the side over there, so this room is multifunctional. All right, this is another little fun spot in this room. This is actually a keychain holder that the previous owner made and left out in the garage. And I had an idea to make it into a boot rack. So you can see they're all little pegs that are really close together, and I have a heating vent right here that heats the room. And so I had our contractor put it right here over the heating vent so it can dry out the boots if we've been out to the creek or in the wintertime. And so this has been so helpful for us just to keep everything off the floor and not tripping over everything. I found this fun little picture of a yellow lab that reminded me of Penny. These are Penny's little leashes and her little dog hook over here. And then one other thing that's kind of fun in this room, oh, actually two, I created this basket holder. This is where I put all of like the herbs that I go out and get from the garden. I created this, my contractor helped me with this after being at a friend's house, and she had one of these in her kitchen, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of fun, and I always having my baskets stacked up against the wall, so we put them up here, and my husband loves when he bumps his head against them. It's like his favorite thing in the world, so so sometimes I have lots of things hanging out of them too, and he does not like that either, so those are nice and clean right now. But the last thing, I have started a duck decoy collection of hand-carved, hand-painted ducks. And so I have, every time I go to an antique store, or even if I'm traveling, I try to find one to add. So right now I have 3, and then I have 1 over on the other side. And I just started about 2 years ago. My stipulation is that it has to be under $15. So it has to be like a really good deal. I don't know why I put that on myself. I just thought it was fun. But they're all so beautiful. One my brother-in-law found, and then my husband stole it out of his bag and put it in our bag when we were traveling home. So one of these is his, but that's okay. And so, yeah, so if you guys ever find one that's $15, let me know and I will buy it from you. But these are all my little things. So hopefully one day I'll get them to go all the way across the shelf. That is my goal. Okay, let's go see the kitchen now. Now we are in the kitchen. I designed this kitchen after my grandmother's galley kitchen in northern New Hampshire. I have beautiful memories of her making delicious soups and cookies for us. Some of the recipes I have shared on Instagram. And so I really wanted this space to feel like that. This kitchen was partially done when we moved here. We changed the paint, we changed the backsplash, and we changed the stone on top of the island. I had lighting changed in here, so it was not a full redo, but there was a lot of things that we added. We also added some custom cabinetry too. And I really wanted this whole space to feel nice and light. As you know, if you have children, the kitchen is the heart of the home. Even if you don't have children, and they can get really messy. You bring your stuff in from outside, you bring your stuff home from school, and we're constantly having things just unloaded in here. So I wanted the space to feel clean and open. That way we didn't feel too crammed and like stuff was everywhere. And so we have these beautiful glass doors here that I also used on the other side with the custom cabinetry. I picked this light stone just to keep it nice and fresh. I know I've heard, I guess like white kitchens are going out of style or something silly, but I would say that they never go out of style. This to me is just so traditional. You can accessorize it any way you want. You can make it modern or not. And then I used a very beautiful, I love this tile. This tile is, this backsplash is a hand done square blocked, which I thought felt a little bit more fresh versus a subway. And each tile, it has a different variation of the same creamish gray undertone. And so I love it. It makes it feel earthy and organic without being too much. It doesn't take away from the rest of the kitchen. So we had these cabinets painted in White Dove by Benjamin Moore, and it's just the perfect, for us, it's the perfect almond white soft tone. So another reason why I needed this kitchen to be nice and clean is because this is where we make all of our Italian food. So when friends come over, I have dozens of our signature family meatballs in our freezer, which is why it's so big. And we always are having sauce and meatballs, and so I needed this space to be nice and clean so that when we're making a big mess, we know where to clean it. I create all of our family recipes here just right here as I'm working. My sister-in-law loves to cook, I love to cook, and so we like to share recipes with each other. And it's really great for entertaining too. So this space here is where I serve all of our food when we have our guests every other week for small groups. So we have between 30 and 40 people every week that come. They actually bring a lot of their own snacks too. It's really fun. It's like a big potluck with snacks. Everybody chows down. It's wonderful. And so this is where I serve all of that. I like to do it in white dishes, and they bring whatever they have, and we have it all laying out here. So this space is so great for that. My children eat breakfast here every morning. And like I said, I was thinking that it was a little bit too big. I was going to redo it when we were redoing the kitchen, but I decided that with how many people we entertain, we've had up to, I believe, 100 people that I've served in this space, and it worked well. They could go around, then they could go move into the other parts of the home and eat. And so it's actually been really great for our family to have an island this big. All right, so this is our little sitting area that we created within our house. This whole room actually used to be 2 different rooms, and the previous owners took it from a galley kitchen with a very small sunroom into this wide open space. And so it's kind of an awkward area. I had a hard time figuring out, they had a couch here, but because we have multiple families and children that are always over, the couch just didn't seem comfortable. People were kind of, falling on each other. So I created this space. This is where we do homework. This is where my husband and I, after we put the children to bed, we will sit and read or catch up on the news or whatever it might be. These are 2 Pottery Barn chairs I actually found for a crazy deal again on Facebook Marketplace. And I really love this piece. I actually just found it at a consignment store. It has a removable tray, so it'd be great for entertaining if I need to move it somewhere. And I might be putting it down in the new studio that we're building, but it's been great here. We can keep our books and our devotion books on it. And it is from Neiman Marcus, but it's from their Italy line. And so I love that because, again, my husband is Italian, and this just kind of like reminds me of his heritage. The gold with the black is so pretty, and I feel like it kind of elevates these casual vibes we have going on over here. So one of my favorite things to do in a space is if you buy something, let's say that's from Pottery Barn and it's very maybe trendy or modern, and you want to make it feel your own, I love to change out the cushions on these chairs. So I had my upholsterer redo the cushions for me, and we came up with this fun Kaufman fabric. It holds up really well with the kids. And so this just kind of made this chair feel like my own. I added our little needlepoint. A man's place is on his boat because my son loves to be outside. And so, so I just feel like this chair, it could be very basic and standard, but we made it our own by changing the fabric and adding some fun pillows. All right, I want to show you this plate rack over here. There is a woman on Instagram who I get so much inspiration from. She has a beautiful house in Connecticut, and she has 2 of these flanking either side of a doorway into her dining room. And when we moved into this house, I loved this breakfast nook. This is where we eat all of our dinners. We have family dinner almost every single night of the week. And so I wanted this to feel like warm and cozy. The joke my husband always laughs at me is, what would be better than eating surrounded by books? I just feel like that's so romantic and beautiful. But I couldn't fit a bookcase here because it's too skinny and we'd always be bumping into it. And so instead of doing a bookcase, I got the idea from her, Mara is her name, to do this plate rack instead. So I had my contractor build this out. It was very simple, and I have cookbooks on it. We've got a little plate of my special puppy, which you haven't met her yet. She'll be around, I'm sure. I got that for Christmas from my children. And then all of these beautiful plates. So I have been collecting these over the last 15 years. I have one from the Mark Twain home, which is in Missouri. So that to me was very special. I have some different antique ones. I've got at really cool estate sales in historic places within in the country. Some of them are from New England, some of them are from the Midwest. And I have Polish pottery on here. My mother-in-law got me this. My mom's been building my collection over the last few years. And then these plates are my favorite, and you probably saw them on the wall on the other side. But these are very old. They're from the 1800s, transferware. I've been collecting these over time and then just add to them as we go. These cookbooks here I chose based off of ones that we use all the time, but they also, like my husband reads out of this book for most of our dinners to our children, and so we keep that on hand. We've got my daughter's favorite cookie book she makes cookies out of, and so these are all books that we use a lot. And then my mantra, or my icon, Julia Child's cookbook. So we've got a lot of fun books here that we use often. I want to show you a few more spaces that we use every day, some of them that have gotten a lot of views on Instagram, so I think you'll like them. Let's go to the living room. Welcome to the living room. This fireplace is what I always get a million questions about, and I can't take any credit for it. It was the previous owner who did all of this beautiful stonework. They found this, I believe it's an old railroad tie from someplace in Missouri. They had shipped here. It is just so fun and very rustic feeling, and we love it in our house. I decorate it with huge arrangements for Christmas. I do fun things. Right now I have some really cool seed pods from the creek that I brought up with a friend, and some iron candlesticks here. But this is like kind of where I get a lot of my creative energy out because it's such a big space but concentrated. This is where I also make the most mess, so I constantly have leaves all over the floor in here and seed pods and random things, because I just find this like a really fun creative place for myself to make things and try to test things out. I've learned a lot about floral design just from testing things out in here, what different types of foams work and how to secure things when I'm creating so they don't fall over. I've had a lot of things fly off of here, and so learning about how to secure things down and all of that has helped me when I've done an event or something like that before, to know, okay, I totally messed up on the mantle. This is how we can flesh this out for an event. So this is a gas fireplace. We have a real fireplace downstairs. We considered turning this over to real, but we kind of like just not having to take care of it and constantly shovel it out and everything when we have a lot of friends over, and I like just not having to feed it. So we have gas up here, but then downstairs is where we relax with the children and watch a movie, and we'll have a real fireplace down there. This beautiful painting, I searched so high and low for the right piece for this space. This is an antique from the 1800s. It is a Danish vintage painting that I found, actually someone had posted it on Instagram, and I commented immediately, sold. And the woman who was sharing it, she was like, I knew this would be perfect for your house. So I was so excited to find it. The reason I love it the most, it's a little bit more farm oriented than the rest of the paintings I have in the house. But the reason I love it is that if you're standing back, it looks like you're just looking outside. It continues the view from the windows. So the lighting, the blue sky, and just the view is very indicative of what we have just outside the windows. And so I feel like in the cold winter months, I can look at this and enjoy it. And then in the summer, it looks like almost like a window to what you're looking at outside. So I was so excited about this piece. It is one of my favorites I have in the house. So it can be really difficult to design a large room like this. Where do I put my seating, and how do I create good walkways? In our last house, I had to figure that out. We had a really large room similar to this. I mean, I hop over the dog. And I had to do a lot of trial and error to figure it out. So in this home, we have our general seating area is here. We have a very large couch that you can comfortably seat 3 people. I specifically picked out 3 cushions for that couch versus having 2, because I wanted to be able to let people sit comfortably without like leaning into each other. So this is a large couch with very comfortable 3 seating. We have a large love seat here. So this is actually probably like a standard size regular couch. And so 2 people can sit here. We have large enough spaces for people to walk. So the walkway that you have when you're trying to move between spaces usually should be about 36 inches, but this is a little bit smaller, and it's okay. I've actually watched when people come over to make sure they're not bumping, and it's been fine. So to have these slightly closer has been able to give us more space on this side to have the chairs. I think it's really important when you're creating big spaces to not, the number one thing I see people do when they have a large room like this is push everything against the wall, have a small rug in the middle, and then they put a coffee table on top of it. So then when you're sitting down, you can't put your feet up, you don't have anywhere to put your drink, everything's squished, and then the room looks huge and vacant. And so trying your best not to do that by giving yourself a rug. You can actually look on Google I Google this all the time. These are the dimensions of my room. What size rug should I get? And you can figure out the size rug that you need for your room, and then bring all of your furniture, have it at least halfway onto it, and if not fully. And that will give you those intimate, comfortable spaces for people to be able to have conversation. You don't want everyone so far back that you feel like you're shouting when you're talking. You also want them to be able to see your face when you're talking, and make sure that it's well lit enough. I like using low lighting, so make sure you have enough lamps and things to give their eyes and their face, dimension, so you can see who you're talking to. You can let your coffee table be the space that dictates where your walking spaces are. So we have a very large coffee table here. I use it to kind of put out different ideas for my family. So right now I have a Ralph Lauren book that I love, that I'm getting some inspiration from that specific picture for our bedroom. And then I have my James Audubon book here. My son was actually, last night, he picked this, the magnifying glass up, and he was looking closely at all of the brush strokes and the beautiful feathers within this bird. And so I like to use this space as kind of like a little gallery for my family. I change it out often. This is a really amazing root that I found outside, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna place that in a bowl. Something resonates with me with roots. I don't know what it is. I love the texture of them. I love just like the idea of rooting in your home and being really rooted and grounded. So maybe that's why I love roots. I don't know. I often will bring them inside and like dry them out. But so that's just a root from the creek. And then we have some fun other little like shells from a trip that we went on. This is also from the Bahamas, that conch shell we found on a little deserted island. So, and then of course my florals that I love to do. So I feel like this coffee table speaks a lot to my family. It gives my family things to look at. It tells a story, but it also creates a walking space so that I know where to go within this room. And then we have these are antique chairs. We have these set back a little bit. When we have larger groups, we'll pull them in, but I have them seated back so that you can still walk through. We open this door every day to let the dog out to go to the bathroom, and she's sleeping right now. But so this is pulled back from here, but you could pull it in. You just don't want to have a lot of empty spaces within your room, like big wide open spaces. You want to pull everything in so that everyone feels really comfortable and like they can talk. This is our library nook. I designed it specifically for my children. It used to be a wet bar. They had a keg here and a sink and all of this stuff, and then a huge bar here that you could serve. Because our island is so big and our living space and cooking space is right there, I wanted to be able to have something different here. I wanted to have a space that my children could study and do their homework, be on the computer without me having to worry about what they're looking at, because they're sitting right here in the middle of our home. I did the library style just because we really enjoy reading, and I had a huge collection of books from our previous home that I wanted to make sure that we displayed. This is kind of fun here. So this is a structural wall that we could not take out unless we spent, I think it was going to be $10,000 to put a header in. I didn't want to do that. It didn't feel necessary to me, and I really love creating smaller spaces versus wide open in spots like this because I want it to feel cozy and comfortable. So instead of taking this out or making it just a column, we create a bookshelf in it. So we made it look like it's been here the whole time on the side, and I had my contractor just build a little bookshelf right into the wall that was here before that's holding up the rest of the space. And this just kind of has a lot of different books that we use all the time. I tried to make them aesthetically pleasing, but then ended up just having it being a regular library because that's what we need it for. My kids do homework here most nights. We've got my husband's seltzer fridge. He's obsessed with seltzer. And this is a new item that I just got for Christmas. My mother-in-law got me a record player. I had been wanting one for so long, and that was my Christmas gift this year. We listened to Nat King Cole, and it was crackling while the fire was going with the Christmas tree. It was so wonderful. So I've been really excited about that. My biggest source of inspiration, I would say, is I grew up going to Ralph Lauren stores with my dad. He's such a smart dresser, and that I loved the juxtaposition of the blue and white chinoiserie vases with the crisp white shirts and polo type atmosphere, men's den, but also elevated. And so I just loved that growing up and seeing all of that. And so that, I would say, is, as far as the style and design that I look to, that is one of my biggest influences. What I love most about this home is really the outside. We live outside probably 9 months out of the year, so it's always really hard for us in the winter. We still get out there, but I love the outdoor space that we have, and I love being able to bring that inside. We are always hiking and walking, we're boating on the lake, and being able to bring those elements in of like rocks, and like I said, I like to decorate with weeds, which is so silly, but I think you'll think they're pretty. Bringing in the weeds and just the different elements of the outside is what I really enjoy about this. But just having the space to move and to be outside in God's creation is my favorite part of our house. Let's go see our primary bedroom next. Okay, now we are in our primary bedroom. This has been a labor of love. I have been working on this room for a couple weeks, and I cannot believe it came together in time. This is an antique mirror that I had seen a replica of on our house, and I thought it was really cool, but I was on Facebook Marketplace, again, looking for something else, who knows what, and saw this. It was in a really ugly, like bronze, like someone spray painted it. And it's the original. There was a tag on the back, and so I believe that some of these brands maybe had seen an original and recreated their mirrors after them, but this is the original antique, and it is so beautiful. It's all wood inlay. There are some, funky things with it because it's an antique, but it doesn't bother me at all, some of the reflection things and things like that, but it is so beautiful. So I actually painted it this cream color and distressed it myself to bring it back to what it probably originally was closer to. And then over here, this is our bed and side tables. These are vintage. I have a pair of vintage lamps that I got at an estate sale. My husband was in the car, and I said, "Can you please just pull over for 2 minutes? I have to run in there." It was a very standard, normal house, so I don't know what made me feel like I really needed to get in there that day, but I found this pair. They were $75 a piece and they're absolutely beautiful. They're hand painted, there's texture to them, and the gold is just gorgeous. They're such beautiful colors. So I've had them in a couple different places in our home, in our homes as we've moved. This is a piece of art that I created just to kind of bring in the outside into this room. The room was starting to feel a little bit too clean for what I like to do. And so I just created this art. I'll probably be adding more to it and doing a frame and things like that. But it's a work in progress. It actually has moss and it has roots from outside that I painted to match the rest of the painting. And it also has some seeds and like leaves and stuff like that. I sprinkled those all on there to give it texture. So I painted most of it to be the same color as the canvas, but it has some texture and fun, like warm vibes to it. So I wanted to do that to just make the room not feel too clean. Still wanted it to feel warm and rustic. This bed was made by the previous owner, and they were actually going to get rid of it because it's hard to get in and out of the room, and we told them we would purchase it from them. So it was actually just in the standard pine color, kind of orangey yellow, and we had it painted by the local artisan. She painted it white and distressed these sides, and I love it. I think it feels just like it's cozy and fun, but it also feels a little grand. He had it high off the ground, and so I really enjoyed it. I also love the history behind it and that he made it himself. Okay, I want to show you my favorite art piece in the house. This is a pastoral painting that, again, I got on Facebook Marketplace. I had been searching for some different types of art, and this one popped up for $250. I couldn't believe it. It's even like, gosh, I can't even imagine how much the frame was, never mind the original painting. And I really love the Hudson River Valley painters, the group of painters. They had, gosh, just beautiful colors, and I have a book from them, and every time I look through it, it just makes me so relaxed. And actually need to go to the museum. They have one right near my brother's house. And so this reminded me of their paintings. And I could not believe I got it for $250. Such a steal. This is the Ralph Lauren lamp to keep the space elevated and classy and clean. And then over here I have just some pictures of my children and a clock and something for my jewelry. But when I'm designing a little space like this, I like it just to feel clean, because there are days where I plop my purse on here, or I have a stack of laundry that I need to put away. And so I like having this nice and open. I don't want to clutter it up with too many things. And it just gives it nice and good clean lines for your eyes. Okay, this is my #1 parenting hack of all time. This chaise lounge was actually here in the home. The owners were going to throw it out, and I said, I think we can restore it to its former glory. It was a really beat up, like purple pattern. I think their dog slept on it a lot. So my upholsterer redid a lot of the cushions in it, and I had it upholstered in this really comfortable, relaxing plaid that didn't take over the room. That way I could, if I needed to change bedding at any point, this would still go well with it. And because the reason it's my parenting hack is because my children sleep on here all the time. They take naps on here. If somebody's sick, I don't have to whip out a sleeping bag from under my bed or something. They could just plop right on here. I've already got a blanket. We've got another blanket back there, and they just go to sleep. It's so nice. I wish I thought of it 10 years ago when my daughter was born. But it is just so helpful to have. I'll read on here too, but this is really like my kids' napping zone, and it's so helpful, and it looks pretty. So that's a bonus. So I think what makes a home have a soul and makes it come alive is really taking all of the things that you love and putting them into it. I think sometimes if you don't feel confident in your design, you can try to copy someone's aesthetic down to a T, and you lose yourself in that and who you are and what your family likes to do. And so I would say art for me is really what gives soul. We have art from all over the place, some really cool, amazing artist, but then also like my kids have drawn some things, and I made a piece last night for over my bed last minute for this shoot. And so I really feel like art is kind of the soul of the home to me. Also just having your family pictures and all of the warm textures within your home that you enjoy and that work well for your family is what will create a memory and a moment in each space within your home. I'd love to show you our primary bathroom next. We just finished putting the final touches on it. Let's go have a look. Now we are in our primary bathroom. This one I feel like was probably the least amount of work. They did a really beautiful job in here. We just did a lot of painting and some custom accessories. The worst part about my bathroom is that because they made this huge, beautiful shower, there was no space for the toilet. So I'm always trying to hide it on my videos and things like that. And so if you are designing a bathroom and it is custom and luxurious, we have heated floors and a beautiful tub that looks out over the land. If you're designing a beautiful custom bathroom like that, please find a spot for the toilet before you finish your design, because honestly, it's like, why would you do that? But anyway, we had the only things that we did in here to freshen it up were to paint the cabinets. They had these in like a really creamy yellow, and we lightened them to white dove, which we have throughout the rest of the home. I also added these nice Kichler lighting pendants. I love hotel lighting. I think it's really beautiful. It actually is really good for even doing your makeup, these specific lights. So I had these done. My husband and I have his and her vanities, which I'll show you mine in a second. And in here, I often find it difficult to figure out what type of art to put in a bathroom because you know, it's just kind of like an awkward space. And so I decided to put all of these plants up here. I got the idea from a visit to the Four Seasons. They had some really beautiful vases on the wall with plants. And I was like, you know what, I think I could do that over, this is a transition into our closet. And so we have those up there. It just fills the vibe of the rest of the house, and it's clean. You don't have to look at like someone's face and a piece of art staring at you when you're getting ready for the day. So I love that it's kind of just unintrusive and fills in, it makes the space feel a little bit more warm. I think that's one of the hardest parts when you're designing a bathroom is how to add warmth. So how we did that in this area, in this room, is one, by the color of the carpet that we chose, and that is right outside of our bathtub. And then two is with these custom curtains I had made. My friend who is a seamstress created these for me. I designed them, and with her help, she had the idea of the buttons, which I thought were so cute. They're a very fine ticking stripe. I did not want straight ticking stripe because that can tend to go into farmhouse. This is a little bit more refined at that. The pattern is a little bit closer. It's not as faded. And so, yeah, I really love these curtains, and they don't obstruct the view. So you can see we have full view of the lake and the creek and the pastures here and my studio and all of that. So we can see everything from these windows, and I did not want anything to impede that view. Another way that you can add warmth is just by adding some really nice accessories to your space, things that you use all the time. I've got my devotion book here and one of my favorite oils. I'll show you my side of the vanity over here. It's very similar to my husband's. I have a little bit more space than he does, which is nice. And I keep all of my makeup and beauty products and stuff on this side. We've got our medicines and things over here. So I like having this right where I can see it for the kid, so the kids aren't ever getting into things. And so this is on my side of the space. I've got two mirrors, which is so super helpful, and this is fun. So I think when I was little, my mom used to collect all the shells when we would go on vacation, and she had it in a big jar right next to her bathtub. And we would go, and I remember her getting ready and putting on makeup, and I would look through the shells. I just thought it was really, really fun. It's a good memory for me. So I had put all of ours in there too. When we go on trips, I have the kids find them, and then they'll come and look at them in my space. So it's a little bit of remembrance of my mom. I would say when I say the word home, I think of candles and sitting on the couch reading a book. I think of drinking my favorite jasmine tea and watching my children play. We have a lot of background music that we play, again, to engage those senses. And so having classical music playing while we're reading together, or even watching, we love watching movies. That's one of our favorite like Friday night things to do. So home to me is just being quietly in a space together and enjoying each other in a relaxed atmosphere.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.